Hi, good evening, everybody. Once again, a good evening from my end. My name is Dr. Priyanka Joshi. I'm a part of BSV's medical team. I'm here to welcome everybody to our Perfection Fortisphere, which is all about precision, practice, and perspective. It is in association with ISAR. I would like to introduce a special practitioner. That her name is Dr. Monica Singh. She's President-elect Bhopal Ops and Gynec Society. She's founder president of ISOPAB chapter of Bhopal from 2024 to 2027. She's national executive member of ISAR from 2024 to 2027.
That's all,
Vice
Priyanka. That's all, Priyanka. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, just one word I would like to add is she's a very humble person and she has a big hand in shaping the future Gynax. Ma'am, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyanka. And thank you, Team BSP, for giving us this platform. And with the countdown, I really thought that we are, the spaceship would take off, that countdown from 10 to 1 was very exciting. And you have put together a great show with your team. And BSP Pharma, just for information to all the, dignitaries, they did not have a studio of their own. So they hired a third party to do this webinar. And the third party and the team with Nima, Raj, and the others, they really did a fantastic job. So at the outset, I would like to thank Indian Society for Assisted Reproduction because here we are here because of ISAR. And ISAR has given us a new beginning and a fresh start to the brilliant scientific proceedings we started with Perfection Series in 2023 after the annual 27th annual ISAR at Bhopal. So all these webinars will be very interesting, informative, and evidence-based. Of course, very engaging. Now, a little bit about because there'll be so many new people joining the webinar. I wanted them to know a little bit about the history of ISAR. So when there was a lot of progress all over the world in the field of assisted reproduction in the late 80s, in 1991, it was Dr. Mahendra Parikh sir, who formed an Indian Society for Promoting Assisted Reproduction. So there was a historic meeting which was called at IMA building in Mumbai in 1991 on 16th of February. And in this meeting, about 34 scientists and doctors from all over the world, maximum from Mumbai, got together and they started Indian Society for Assisted Reproduction. And you can see all the activities which we are doing today under the leadership of our President, Secretary General, are actually the ones which were formulated way back in 1991. Of course, I was in my, I think, just final MBBS when ISAR was formed, but it has been a very exciting journey. And this is how ISAR was born, 1991. And for this webinar, I must give, a very heartfelt thanks to our President, Dr. Amit Patki, Honorary Secretary General, Dr. Asha Bakshi, our Honorary Treasurer, Dr. Ashish Kale, our President-elect, Dr. Sunita Tendulwar, immediate past President, Dr. Nandita Palshetkar, VP, Dr. Madhuri Patil, Second Vice President, Dr. Sugatakar, Chairman for Embryology, Dr. Charudat Joshi, Vice Chairman for Embryology, Dr. Keshav Malhotra, Second Vice Chair, Dr. Nishat Chimote, Honorary Clinical Secretary, Dr. Gautam Khastagi, Honorary Librarian, Dr. Seema Pandey, and an editor of GHRS, Dr. Mohan Kamat. Thank you. Sir, I took this opportunity to thank the entire ISAR because this proceeding is because of ISAR. I'm thoroughly indebted to ISAR. A little bit about, why we called it perfection. Our tagline is perfection, precision, practice, and perspective. Now, perfection in any field is actually a very subjective term. What might be perfect for me might not be perfect for Manisha, might not be perfect for Amit sir. But generally, when you talk about perfection, there are four key aspects. There is excellence, that is achieving exceptionally high standard in whatever procedure or whatever treatment you're doing. Flawlessness, that is minimizing the error margin. Precision means accuracy and optimizing performance in such a way that you consistently deliver the good outcome in every cycle. So, this is the goal towards which we are going ahead. and we will be taking all the ISARians along with that, along with us, and we will be using, a lot of knowledge, a lot of brainstorming sessions, rock solid evidence, and we'll have better, treatment strategies for our patients. This is our first symposium, and I take great pleasure that the ISAR dignitaries have joined us today to shower their blessings and for making this session a fruitful and highly enlightening one. It is indeed an honor and privilege to welcome in our midst our chief guest and President ISAR, Dr. Amit Patki, sir. Sir, your presence adds immense values to the forthcoming dialogues and discussions that you will be having this webinar, and we look forward to your insights, perspectives, and blessings. So we would really love to have a few words from you at the beginning of ISAR Perfection Fertisphere. Professor Amit Patki, President ISAR, is the Medical Director of Fertility Associates in Mumbai. Sir is consultant at Khar, Hinduja and Surya Hospitals, Mumbai. Sir is the President ISAR 24 to 26, the country representative of Aspire 21 to 23, Governing Council member of ICOG from 12 to 21, Vice Chair of MSR from 2023 to 25, Chair of West Zone RCOG from 2015 to 20, and President of Mumbai OBGY Society from 2014 to 15. Sir has had 50 publications in national and international journals, written almost 100 book chapters and edited 3 books, and he holds 2 international patents in infertility and stem cell research, and we know him as a very dynamic TEDx speaker. Welcome, sir. And this is the first episode of ISAR Perfection series in front of you.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. And at the onset, I must congratulate the conveners, Dr. Monica Singh and Dr. Randir Singh. Both of them have been very seasoned and experienced ISAR members and have conducted and coordinated large number of webinars, and the latest being the embryology conference, which they successfully did in Bhopal. I know Monica as a very research or oriented, academically inclined colleague. And when she came up with this Perfection Fertisphere, I was enthralled and happy that she is going to continue partly her Perfection series. So congratulations to Dr. Monica. And I'm also glad that she has taken very young and talented co-conveners in Dr. Manisha Vajpayee and Dr. Garima Sharma. So congratulations to the team. And I'm very happy to see my friend, colleague, and somebody who's my favorite, Dr. Ashish, as a treasurer in ISAR being present here, and Sugatakar and Asha Baxi as guest of honors. I think the first episode is always very, very precious and challenging, because once the webinars roll, I'm sure it will be a great success as the previous webinars. And I think a success of any educational meet is the faculty, and I'm glad to see Keshav in the inaugural webinar, somebody whom I know is very well read, very learned, and has brought up embryology as an independent line in infertility practice. So I'm looking forward to his lecture and to Dr. Monica Singh's lecture and the panel, which will be led by Dr. Pratik Tambe, with keen interest, because I am looking at the number of panelists, and I can only say that Pratik will be able to handle so many people is going to be a master feat in itself. So best wishes to the webinar and best wishes to the series of Perfection Fertisphere. And I also would like to take this opportunity to thank BSV for their wholehearted educational support. So congratulations, Monica and Prandir, on yet on another excellent initiative, and I will look at it with keen interest for the subsequent episodes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Amit, sir. And it's indeed a pleasure to start the first symposium with your blessings. And now I would like to welcome and honor our guests of honor, Dr. Asha Bakshi Madam, Honorary Secretary General ISAR, and Second Vice President ISAR, Dr. Sugatakar. Dear Madams, your contributions to the field of reproductive medicine in India have been truly remarkable and exemplary. Your leadership and expertise and your helping hand at every moment is inspiring and has brought many laurels to ISAR. We are grateful for your presence today. Can I have Dr. Asha Bakshi Madam Sevi? Madam Sevi, please. Priyanka, Nima. Dr. Asha Anil Bakshi requires no introduction. She is a well-known figure all over India in the field of IVF reproductive medicine and even in Foxy. Madam belongs to my own state of Madhya Pradesh, city of Indore, and she has been, a leading force behind the spread of knowledge within MP and in all the parts of the country through the various conferences that Indore has done. And she has held various posts in ISAR, and now she is our Honorary Secretary General. She is working as the lead consultant at Motherhood Chain of Hospitals in Indore. Madam has held various posts in ISAR right from the beginning and is also been the chairperson of Foxy Infertility Committee in 2017 up to 2019 and a member of ICOG Governing Council. She has also held the post of the past president of Indore OBGY Society and is the member of advisory committee of PCPNDT in Indore. And we all know PCPNDT has a big role to play not only in OBGY practice, but also in fertility practice. To her credit, go the first.
Monica, that's okay. That's okay.
Madam, you have always been a constant in my programs and a big source of inspiration to all of us. Ma'am, a few words from you, please.
Thank you very much, Monica. It's really nice, and I would really admire your persistence and how you have grown up and getting better and better day by day. And today, the way you have started the webinar, I'm really impressed. And I'm thankful to Dr. Amit Patki, our president, who is also very supportive to all these educational activities. And it is nice to see that today you have got an excellent faculty, and especially Keshav Malhotra. And the topic you have selected is adjuvants, which is a very, very important topic because all these add-ons, I think tons and tons of add-on are being used, and we do not know whether we are justified or not, and how much money is being wasted, or is it really used? We don't know. So I'm sure today you both are going to give us some insights about what is the logic and what is the evidence behind using these add-ons, and add-ons right from the lab to the clinical use, and then all practical tips by Dr. Pratik Tambe during a panel discussion. So very good selection of the topic, and very good speakers also. And nice to see Dr. Sujata is going to be the another guest of honor, and I'm glad Ashish is also here today. So really, you've got galaxy of speakers and galaxy of faculty. So I'm sure this is again going to be a super successful webinar series. And all the best to you and Dr. Ranveer Singh. You really both have an excellent chemistry, not in your day-to-day life, but even during the academic and scientific sessions. So keep doing good work, and best wishes. And thank you once more for inviting me. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Asha ma'am. Thank you for always being there and being always supportive and encouraging to not only to us who are there in ISAR for some time, but to every junior who approaches. A great teacher you are, ma'am. And now,
Yes, ma'am. And especially we are very lucky that, madam, you are from MP Indore. So we always get your blessings and advices. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to, welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Sugatakar, the Vice President ISAR, and she is again a very senior IVF specialist as well as a practicing gynecologist in the state of Odisha. She has led from the front, not only in the whole of the Eastern India, but also in ISAR. She is a great academician. We always see her presence in national and international conferences, and her talks are very sought after. Her slides are very impressive and very meaningful. She has been awarded, she's received some of the top honors in Orissa from the hands of governor and the chief minister, as well as been awarded the best IVF center in Eastern India. She has a special interest in PCO, has written several chapters, and is at present at a very high post in ISAR of second vice president. Madam, are you there?
Madam
I
is not.
Yeah, I think Madam was a little busy. She might join a little later. So we will go to our special guest, that is Dr. Ashish Kale. Thank you, Dr. Ashish, despite your, your feet in many parts of the world and your, international presence, you have still taken out time for this webinar. It really means a lot. Dr. Ashish Kale is very active in ISAR as well as Foxy. He is holding the post of Honorary Treasurer of ISAR. Can I have his CV, please? We know him as a very passionate teacher, as a very innovative laparoscopic endoscopic surgeon. His videos are very popular. I myself, I am, his follower, and I keep seeing his videos. So he has been very active in the Family Welfare Committee of Foxy from the year 23 to 25, as well as star figure in the Pune OBGY Society. The post of Clinical Secretary of ISAR, followed by Treasurer of ISAR, also very active in IAGE, Maharashtra chapter of ISAR, Maharashtra chapter of IAGE, and the recipient of several awards like Champions of ISAR, Kamni Rao Orator, Young Achiever Award from IMA, Foxy Future Award, and Young Researcher Award from POGS. He's also a peer reviewer of Jogi and Sefog and member of several international conferences, and a writer, written 30 chapters in textbooks and 10 original research papers, more than 500 talks in various congresses. Welcome, Dr. Ashish, and a few words from you, please, as we start our first webinar of the series.
Thank you, Dr. Monica and Dr. Randhir. When you're talking about the perfection comes from both of them. I've seen both of them in a like there are certain powerhouses in Foxy. Few of them are from Agra, from Mumbai, and I can name from Indore now. So the powerhouse and power couple you can name. At the outset, I'm really thankful to our President of ISAR, Amit Patki sir, and Secretary Asha Bakshi madam for giving me this opportunity to talk to you, all of you. When you're talking about the perfection is a science. We develop the science of ART from just making the IVF, from IVF to ICSI to MC. Now, I think Keshav will be talking about adjuvants in a different ways in a lab itself. So it's a evolving branch. We now know that the Casper gene is taking care of the certain diseases, which is going to take care in a genetic level. So, if we wanted to achieve some perfection in life, I think these are the webinars conducted by Dr. Monica, Dr. Randhir, and along with them, the two my beautiful co-conveners, my friends, Dr. Manisha and Garima. I am really thankful to both of them being there. And to say few words about my friends, the first talk is going to delivered by Keshav. He is the thickest friend of mine. Secondly, the talk is going to give it by Dr. Monica, and panel is by Dr. Pratik Tambe. Saying so, when you are talking about the perfection, I think all of them are perfectionists. All of them are achievers in the field of ART. You name them, they have the answers of everything. So, without wasting of time, I think we should join the academic feast, and I'm really looking forward to learn more from them. So, thank you, Dr. Monica, for having me here. Though it is not my that stature that I should be a guest of honor or whatever it may be, but I am the one of you. So please consider me as a one of the learner rather than a chief guest, and all that thing is just a Lawrence. I really not go through that level. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Ashish. You are very humble. You are, you have to be a speaker in one of my webinars, very speaker or moderator. You're very
Thank
humble.
you.
One of
Thank you, Ashish. Just I'll take few seconds. When our Prime Minister Modi was considered, he was also too young, but he deserved that. So you are also not, though you're young, but you're going to have a president very soon at the
Big
step.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Will be look into. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Monica, you are muted. Yeah.
It's my honor and privilege to introduce our two co-conveners, Dr. Monica Singh ma'am. Can I have her CV? Ma'am is Managing Committee Member ISAR and also the Founder President ISAPAP Chapter of Bhopal, National Executive Member ISAR, and also the Vice President Bhopal Menopause Society. And Madam is also the President-elect Bhopal Obs and Gynae Society. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Dr. Randhir Singh, sir. Sir is SA Certified Embryologist, Director and Head of Embryology, Bhopal Fertility Endoscopic Surrogacy Center and ART Bank. Organizing chairperson of very much well-acclaimed 27th Annual ISAR Conference 2023 Bhopal, organizing secretary of ISAR Embryology Bhopal, and also the managing committee member ISAR, member Madhya Pradesh PCPNDT Board, member Madhya Pradesh ART and Surrogacy Board, founder executive member ICRM, Professor Ellen Medical College and JK Hospital Bhopal.
Okay, Dr. Shweta, continue. Next. Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have two co-conveners. Dr. Garima Sharma, madam. Can I have her CV? Dr. Garima Sharma is Medical Director at EVA Care Plus Fertility and Complete Women Healthcare Center, Member Managing Committee ISAR, Managing Council Committee Member of Maharashtra Chapter of ISAR. Madam has received various awards like Dr. Manish Bankar ISAR Young Achiever Award, ISAR Youth Icon Award, and we welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Professor Manisha Vajpayee, madam. Madam is Head of Department Embryology and Research at Pacific Medical College and Hospital and Pacific Medical University, Udaipur. She is Managing Committee Member of ISAR, Executive Committee Member ACE, Executive Committee Member ISAR Rajasthan as well. Ma'am is very active in all the platforms of embryology, as well as ma'am is an avid reader. Ma'am has given many publications in various journals. And ma'am has received ISAR Appreciation Award and is IFS Achiever Award. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta.
Now we can have a few words from Manisha and Garima. Manisha and Garima, you can just maybe, tell us about what your feelings are at this point of time. Not extensively, but in short. We can start with Garima. Garima is there?
Yes, ma'am. Just give me a minute. I can start with Manisha, just getting my AirPods.
So Manisha, you can start.
Okay, ma'am, it was a great privilege and it is a great learning experience for me. I'm truly enjoying being a part of this Perfection Fertisphere Symposium series as a co-convener. This symposium series is our shared journey towards achieving precision and perfection as told by you, which are the backbones of our practice in IVF, be it our laboratory or our clinical practice. So in this journey, actually, we are trying to bring together the expert insights from across the globe and accommodating these insights with a lively discussion so that everybody can be benefited with that. Keeping these perspectives in our vision, we are eagerly moving ahead and going to start this journey under your guidance. And I'm truly grateful to our stalwarts in the field, Dr. Amit Patki sir, Dr. Asha Baxi ma'am, Dr. Ashish, Kale ma'am, Dr. Sugatakar ma'am, for blessing us and being here. It is a great motivation for all of us. Over to you, Garima.
Yeah, so I think first, a big congratulations for the first start of the Perfection Fertisphere, our Scientific Symposium 1 to Dr. Monica ma'am and Dr. Randhir Singh. A great initiative, and the name itself suggests that it's the first one of its series wherein we are bringing the clinicians and the embryologists together on a platform so that we all, being the two sides of a coin, can mutually be supplementary to each other in our clinical practices as well. And I think my thanks will go incomplete without saying a big thanks to ISAR office under the presidentship of Dr. Amit Patki for giving us this huge platform for conducting this first series, and we are looking forward to next 10. So over to you, ma'am. And thank you for making us co-conveners. And it's also a great privilege for all the managing committee members to come together and put the work together.
So I've been very selfish while selecting my co-conveners so that I can give 50% of the work to Manisha and 50% to Garima, and then I'll be free. So that is the reason I've chosen two dynamic people from the beautiful cities of Mumbai and Udaipur. So now I would like my co-convener, Dr. Randhir, to though he
Yes,
has.
I think, without wasting much time, I think we have introduced two young, big practitioners at the national level, Dr. Garima and Dr. Manisha. We are doing this perfection series last 1 year with the ISAR. So I think we are going to, because we started this with the presidentship of Nanita ma'am. So we are, after Amit Patki sir also we continued. So I think this will go on with the perfection. And we have got very good speakers today. So I think without wasting time, we'll start the Dr. Monica academic sessions.
So the backbone of the team is my coordinators, and I'm very, very proud of these three girls. You can see. Manisha, would you do the honors and introduce our coordinators, please?
Sure, ma'am. So I'm really glad to introduce our wonderful coordinators who has been instrumental in making this series happen. It's my pleasure to introduce one of the coordinator of our webinar series, Dr. Purva Badkur. She is currently working as an assistant professor in Department of Obs Gynae at Gandhi Medical College, Bhopal, and brings with her over 8 years of teaching experience. A national accredited trainer for ICCP colposcopy training course, Dr. Badkur also actively contributing as a divisional convener of MPSC AGOI. She was recently honored with the MPOG's First Yuva Oration Award 2024, a testament of her dedication and growing impact in the field. Her area of training include high-risk obstetrics and preventive oncology, both of which reflect her commitment to advancing women's health through both care and education. The next dynamic coordinator of our webinar series is Dr. Shweta Agrawal. May I have the CV of Dr. Shweta? She is director of Ashoka IVF Care Bhopal with multiple qualification in reproductive medicine and having 10 international publications into her credit. She is founder member of Chhattisgarh ISAR and central member of ISAR. She has been winner of Rising Star Award of IFS 2024 and Foxy Yuva, a Young Talent Award of 2022. She is an experienced faculty and speaker at national conferences, trained in infertility and medical disorders in the pregnancy. Next, we'll have, and I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Richa Samadhya. As one of the coordinator of this series, she is currently working as a consultant in Department of Reproductive Medicine at Bansal Hospital, Bhopal, and has completed her training at prestigious postdoctoral fellowship and reproductive medicine from CMC Vellore, with experience at renowned institutes like UCMS, GTB Hospital, Nova IVF, and Hindura Hospital. She brings both depth and dedication to her work. She is a recipient of multiple accolades, including Dr. Subhash Mukhopadhyay Award by IFS and award from Honorable Health Minister and Deputy CM of Madhya Pradesh in 2022 and 2025, respectively. She also been an invited speaker, chairperson at several national conferences, including Fertivision and ISAR. We are fortunate to have you all as a part of this academic journey. A big heartfelt thanks to you all three. So, with this, may I continue with our first academic session? Monica ma'am, Patki sir, with your permission, can I start?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So with this, we now begin the first scientific session of our symposium series titled Enhancing the Environment Where Life Begins, the Role of Lab Adjuvants in IVF. In IVF laboratories, where success rates are often challenged by the biological limits, the use of lab adjuvants represents our ongoing quest to optimize conditions and improve the outcomes. From enhancing embryo quality to supporting implantation, adjuvants are becoming an integral part of strategies aimed at improving clinical take-home baby rates in our practice. To lead us into these important discussions, we are privileged to have with us an esteemed panel of chairpersons. Each is a respected authority in the field of reproductive medicine, and it's my honor to introduce them today. First and foremost, Dr. Neela Mohri ma'am. Unfortunately, Madam couldn't join because of some emergency, but she is Medical Director of New Life Hospital and Advanced Fertility Gynae Laparoscopy Center at Varanasi.
She is a highly respected fertility consultant and gynae laparoscopic surgeon. Ma'am holds a German diploma in ART and a certificate in ART from South Korea. She is the past chairperson of ISAR UP, Secretary UP, IAG, and Vice President of Banaras Menopause Society. With multiple publication and national contribution, she has also organized many prestigious conferences. Her leadership continues to shape the fertility landscape in North India. We are going to miss you, ma'am, today. And then may I now have the CV of our next chairperson? Yes. So it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Jyoti Malik, ma'am. Dr. Jyoti Malik, ma'am, is the director of Roots IVF and Fertility Institute, Bahadurgarh, and she is the chairperson of Haryana chapter of ISAR, a clinician, a teacher, and a women's health advocate. Dr. Malik has received numerous accolades, including the Women Transforming India Award 2024, APJ Abdul Kalam Teaching Excellence Award, and many state-level honors in her credit. Madam is a member of and office bearer of several reputed national bodies and has been invited faculty at more than 200 national and international conferences. Her passion and commitment continue to inspire many in the field along with us. And we are honored to have you, madam, here with us today. A warm welcome to you. The next, we are delighted to have Dr. Ratul Datta sir. Sir is with us. Sir is a chief consultant at Nova IVF Fertility Guwahati and HOD Obs Gynae Department at Downtown Hospital Guwahati. Sir is a pioneer in Northeast, credited with achieving the first IVF pregnancy in the region with over 25 years of experience. He is significantly contributed to the IVF education and patient care. Currently serving as a chairperson of Northeast ISAR, he is also an academic leader at Guwahati Medical College and has published in reputed international journals. We welcome you, sir. So, respected chairpersons, kindly take over the session and introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Keshav Malhotra. We all are keen to hear him. Over to you, sirs. Sir and ma'am. Ratul sir, kindly unmute yourself. We can't hear.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear?
Yes, sir.
So I am introducing Dr. Keshav Malhotra. He is Director of Rainbow IVF. He is Chairman SIJ Embryology for Aspire, Vice Chairman of Embryology for ISAR, Executive Committee Member, Alpha Sciences, ACE, ISPAT, SRE 5 2021, Budding Embryologist of the Year, Economic Times 2021, Business World Under 40 2023, Fellow of Indian College of Reproductive Medicine 2024. So Keshav, over to you. You can start your session.
Thank you for that introduction. Can I please share my slides? There we go. So, thank you, Monica ma'am and Randhir sir, for inviting me to this prestigious webinar. Thank you to ISAR and the whole organizing team for bringing forth another avenue in which knowledge can be shared. And it's really enlightening to see such an important topic, an interesting topic actually being discussed today. I'm going to be talking on enhancing the environment where life begins. Now, obviously, there are a lot of add-ons that we really have in the IVF laboratory as well. I'm not going to be covering all of them. I will try and cover some of them and hopefully do justice to whatever I can. Now, when we talk about the environment, it's mainly our culture system within the IVF laboratory. And when you look at the variables that are associated with our culture systems, there are almost 200 individual variables that can actually affect embryo quality. Now, when we basically classify them into broad categories, it can be the medias that are there that we're using. It can be the disposables and consumables that we use in the lab, our equipment, and also the workflow and our processes. Now, this is how life began and life began for almost actually all of us who are working in the field of IVF. You can see that this was the first incubator, and actually the incubator is inside. If you see this glass jar, I'll show you a better photograph of it, and the first baby holding the incubator in which she was actually conceived. From there, we have moved by leaps and bounds. We now have an understanding that obviously we're trying to create life outside of the natural environment, uh, where we were initially trying to mimic the culture conditions that are there, that exist there within the uterine as well as in the fallopian tubes. But we now know that the uterine environment and the fallopian tube environment is not equal to what we are actually doing within the laboratory. What we can truly do is try and achieve an environment as close to it, but we'll never be able to actually naturally mimic it. When we talk about making embryos or making beta blastocysts, this is a short summary of actually all of the things that can actually influence embryonic development within our laboratories. I have broadly classified it into 4 groups, where you have our gametes, where the quality of the sperm, the quality of the egg, the exposure that we have within the lab, and the age of the patient play importance. We have our culture conditions where you can look at uninterrupted culture, which I'll talk about briefly today, low oxygen tension, as well as humidified environment, which is very beautifully discussed in the Cairo consensus. Having a complete culture suite, again, we'll talk about culture medias today, and also oil overlay, and I'll briefly talk about oil as well in our lecture today. As far as the lab is concerned, we want perfect conditions like this series. We want low VOCs, we want low particulate matter, we want low light exposure, and we want a KPI-driven laboratory. And ultimately, when we come to the embryologists, there are 4 or 5 things that are important. You want to minimize stress in all of these procedures. You want to time the procedures adequately. Our skills, especially our biopsy skills, are of utmost importance, and also our cryopreservation skills are quite important. This brings me to the first point that we'll discuss today, and that's the culture media. Now, there are lots of additives in culture media that are actually being used nowadays. I'm sure all of you have heard of adjuvants in the IVF cycle itself, where people are using GM-CSF in intrauterine GM-CSF installations, or using PRP, stem cells, etc. But there are also things that we do within the laboratory and within our own culture systems that can influence the kind of embryos that we grow within our labs. Some of them are GM-CSF, which can be supplemented in a culture media, and we can grow embryos within this culture media itself. We can also use antioxidants in culture medias, and also antioxidants during cryopreservation. But when we look at the evidence, as of now, we have conflicting evidence for almost all of them. I will try and go through it in more detail, but before that, we must actually understand that there are a lot of different types of culture medias that we actually use within the laboratory. This is a very nice publication from Joyce Harper's group, where they actually looked at the impact of a selected culture media on the ART cycle outcomes. And you can actually see that all of the culture medias from all of the different companies were actually basically studied in this particular study itself. There wasn't any difference in the live birth data set, but we know that culture media from this particular study itself has shown to have some impact on the birth weight of the fetus that's born. So that's something that we really need to also think about, because all of the epigenetic changes that happen on the embryo actually can happen during the 5 days of embryonic culture. So this brings me to the first adjuvant that's generally used in IVF cycles, and that's GM-CSF as a culture media. Now, GM-CSF is basically a colony stimulating factor, and it helps it helps establish a communication between the embryo as well as the endometrium itself, or the uterine tissue. It has shown to have a role somewhat during the pre-implantation phase, the implantation phase itself, and also post implantation. what has been seen with initial studies is that GM-CSF can actually support cell survival and also cell development. It promotes the chances of implantation. It can actually help reinforce pregnancies. Um, so basically what we're looking at is an improvement in gene expression, an improvement in metabolism, reduction in cell stress and apoptosis, which ultimately increases blastocyst viability, blastocyst implantation. It also can influence fetal growth and hopefully improve our chances of live birth rates and reduce the chances of miscarriage rates. Now, when you look at the clinical data that's there for this particular media, there are a lot of conflicting studies. I wouldn't say that this has been studied in the most robust fashion as it should be. But when you look at some of the clinical data, it has suggested that clinical pregnancy rates are uh, basically significantly higher as compared to controls. Ongoing pregnancy rates are higher, and also live birth rates are higher. But then we move on to the Cochrane review. Um, Here we know that the pregnancy and the ongoing pregnancy rates of embryos which were cultured in GM-CSF were actually 39.13 versus 36.13. So this is not significantly different. Even though there is a trend towards a higher pregnancy rate, there is no statistical significance that has been actually achieved using GM-CSF. Now, there are certain areas where GM-CSF can actually benefit. Whenever we're thinking of an adjuvant, when you look at the HFEA traffic light system, what is actually being said is there are different categories. You have the green light where RCTs are actually supporting the use of this adjuvant in the general population. Then you have the amber where you have moderate quality evidence or conflicting evidence. You have the red where there is actually evidence of harm that's happening on the cycle. Now there are two more categories. One is the gray where we're not sure what is going to happen. And the other one is black, where there is no evidence of this add-on causing harm to the patient, but there's also no benefit for the use of this add-on. So there are now 5 categories that are there. Now, when we're thinking of using any of these categories, especially if it's falling under the gray, amber gray or the black zone, we need to understand that there would be certain patient populations that might actually benefit from the use of an add-on, or you might want to try an add-on in order to improve the outcome for that said patient. And GM-CSF sort of falls in that particular category. Now, it has been seen that patients who are getting poor quality embryos, GM-CSF has known to improve embryo quality in subsequent cycles. It has also been seen that, especially in the case of cryopreservation, and this is where I particularly use GM-CSF, it has been seen that the blastocyst recovery post warming actually improves with GM-CSF. The number of cells that are actually in the trophectoderm also increase. So here's a video. The one that I'm showing to you right now is a normal culture in a single step media versus when you compare using GM-CSF. What we have seen is the blastocyst re-expansion time, which should be within 1 to 2 hours of post-warming. That's most of the embryos that are not warmed, that are cultured post-warming in GM-CSF actually achieve that KPI. Whereas embryos that are cultured in regular medias may go beyond the 2-hour mark for re-expansion. So that's where I particularly use this add-on and adjuvant. I'm not saying that this might be beneficial to the patient, but this is what I have seen in my clinical practice. Now, the second particular add-on that we see as far as enhancing the environment of the embryo is concerned is antioxidants. Now, we know that antioxidants are being used widely in clinical practice, where we have different combinations that exist for male patients, female patients. It's there to try and reverse their aging, improve the quality of the gametes, etc., and also the lining of the endometrium. Now, using that same concept, we know that there are manifestations of stress on embryos itself. We know that because there are 200 different variables that are there in the laboratory. Any particular aberration in even one of those variables can actually cause stress or induce stress on embryonic development. And what you see as a manifestation of stress in the laboratory itself is that you might have reduced cleavage rates within your lab. You might have increased fragmentation within your embryos. You could have a reduced development to blastocysts. You can have altered differentiation of blastocyst cells. The metabolism of the blastocysts can actually get altered. You can have imprinting issues, gene expression issues, and ultimately we are moving towards a reduction in the viability of the said blastocysts. Now, what can actually be done to reduce stress within the culture systems? Is there something that we can add within our culture media that can actually combat this? So looking at all of this, Professor Gardner actually studied this extensively, and actually came up with a supplementation within the culture media itself, which can actually reduce the effects of reactive oxygen species and ultimately help in improving outcomes for our patients. And this is available as a culture media, which can be used for as a single step media for all 5 days of development. You can also use it for transfer. He actually compared it with his own culture media itself, which is the G series. And he looked at patients who are less than 35 and between 35 to 40, and compared their implantation rates and ongoing pregnancy rates, and definitely found an improvement, especially in the age groups 35 to 40. So where we know that the natural physiological mechanisms to combat reactive oxygen species is going to get diminished, which is our older age group or advanced maternal age group patients. That is where the use of antioxidant supplemented media can actually help us in getting more blastocysts, getting more implantation potential from those blastocysts, and ultimately increase the ongoing pregnancy rates for such patients. Again, this is all that was studied. I'll not go into details of it, but the expansion, the hatching, all of those things were actually improved with an antioxidant supplementation. Also, the number of cells within the blastocysts, that's something that was improved. Now, this was about improving the culture conditions itself. What about transfer? There are medias that are actually there which maybe market themselves as supplements to improve implantation rates. Embryo glue is one of them, which is an implantation promoting media. What embryo glue basically is it contains hyaluronic acid, which basically forms a covering on the zona pellucida itself, thus attaches itself to the endometrial lining. And once basically what it's causing is that it's causing the embryo as well as the endometrium to be in close proximation to each other. And once the embryo hatches, it is in direct contact to the endometrial lining, and hopefully it's going to improve our implantation rates. So there is a new meta-analysis for hyaluronic acid supplementation for transfer medias, and they've actually looked at cell cycles as well as donor cycles. And when you use in autologous cycles or in cell cycles, you can actually see that the hyaluronic acid supplementation or the use of embryo glue actually improved outcomes. So it was 39.2% live birth rate as compared to 32.1% live birth rate. In donor cycles, there was no significant benefit. Clinical pregnancy rates were also higher in the embryo glue group, 47% to 42%. Again, no significant differences in donor cycles. Miscarriage rates was lower in the hyaluronic acid group. This is a meta-analysis. And the caution here was that if you remove one of the studies, which was the outlier study, that actually nullified the significance. So we'll take that with a pinch of salt. And ultimately, another thing that is of worry is multiple pregnancy rates, but this could also be because of the practice of transferring multiple embryos with hyaluronic acid supplementation, and both the embryos are actually implanting. So this is a good add-on to actually use, especially if you're trying SET cycles. especially if you're testing the embryo for aneuploidies and you're transferring a euploid embryo, it can actually aid implantation rates. It appears beneficial in autologous cycles. It is also of more benefit in fresh cycles as compared to frozen cycles. That's again something that we would want to consider. There is no clear benefit as far as donor cycles are concerned. We also basically did a small study on embryo glue, and we recently presented it as a poster. This is about 560 patients, where we basically looked at embryo glue versus regular transfer media. We are using embryo glue for most of our transfers. So out of those 560, almost 415 patients were with embryo glue, and only 142 were with a single step media. And it was 54.9% versus, if I'm not mistaken, 36% in our particular study. And these findings are very similar to the meta-analysis, where there is a suggested 19% increase in implantation rates. When you look at the HFEA data and also the Cochrane review, it right now has an amber rating. Amber rating, like I suggested to you earlier, tells us that there is conflicting evidence from RCTs to show that that this add-on is effective in improving the chance of having a baby or a live birth. We're not just going to talk about embryo culture media. There's also certain add-ons of importance for us as far as eggs are concerned. And one that I will mention here today is artificial oocyte activation. Now, we know that we are in an area where patients might suffer from fertilization failure, or there are patients who would not have conceived for years and years. They've got decent sperm counts, and you kind of struggle to find out what the issue could be in such patients. And once you do an IVF cycle, everything gets revealed when there is a fertilization failure. Now, can we help these patients without really changing the source of gametes for them? So can we avoid donor cycles in such patients? Yes, we can. So regardless of whether we test these patients for what's causing fertilization failure, whether it's a sperm factor or an oocyte-related deficiency, there are certain indications where AOA can actually benefit. Globosospermia is a clear-cut indication for the use of assisted oocyte activation, and even previous fertilization failure, where now we have cutoffs if the fertilization rates have subsequently been less than 30% in at least 2 cycles. In those scenarios, artificial oocyte activation should be used for that patient to improve their chances of having their own physiological child. All of the other indications, whether it's a oocyte-related deficiency, severe terato, oligostenoteratozoospermia, low number of eggs, frozen eggs, unexplained infertility, these are all maybe, I mean, this is falling into the no category as of now for oocyte activation. Now, generally, when the oocytes are getting activated, there's this release of that zinc spark, there's calcium that's actually being released as well. And what we're trying to do within the lab itself now is to try and chemically activate the egg post-fertilization, so that even if there is no calcium spike that happens naturally, we push a calcium spike into the egg itself. By using any of these products. Most common one is calcium ionophore, which is readily available as well. And that's something that is generally used. And how do we use it? Is basically a culture media where you would want to basically expose the fertilized eggs. So immediately after ICSI, expose the eggs for about 10 to 15 minutes in calcium ionophore. There are 4 different strategies. Honestly, the first one is where we are exposing them for 10 to 15 minutes. But Ebner's group is also working on rescue oocyte activation, which basically does the activation 4.5 to 5 hours after ICSI. If you've not seen a polar body extrusion, you do the activation then. There is AOA plus ROA, where you do it at both steps, half an hour post ICSI and again 4.5 to 5 hours post ICSI. And then you can do 3 different exposures, half an hour, 2 hour, and about 5 hours post ICSI for certain patients. I have only done it uh, once, and I do it around 15 to 20 minutes after ICSI, where we expose them for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we put them in the culture media, and it actually is showing wonders for that subset of patients. This also has an amber rating according to HFEA. But again, in patients who require it, where you have less than 30% fertilization rates in about 2 cycles, or there is no fertilization at all, or it's a case of globospermia, in those patients, this is definitely beneficial and should be utilized. Now, we've done a lot of talk on the culture media itself. Let's go to the other component of the culture system, which is oil. We know that oil is an important component, and it has a lot of functions. It protects the media from evaporation. It maintains osmolality in the culture system. It prevents dust and VOCs from entering into the culture media itself. So it's having a very important protective role. And there are lots of different oils that are actually in the market. Now, the only thing that I would talk to you about today is whether to use a low viscosity oil or a high viscosity oil. Um, when we use a low viscosity oil, basically the equilibration time for the media is slightly lesser, but over time, the osmolality loss within the culture droplet can increase, and that's where we are now, especially if you're doing micro droplet culture, we now want to preserve the culture conditions for as long as possible. These dishes are subjected to 5 days of culture, 5 days of exposure, and in such situations, having higher viscosity can actually help us lower the changes in pH outside the incubator, lower the evaporation and osmolality changes, again, lower the chances of spillage of the oil as well as sealing of the dish in these cases. So this is again also coming out in the market and might be a very beneficial switch as far as culture conditions are concerned. So that was part one of this lecture, where we talked about the media and the supplements within the media itself. Let's move on towards the equipment side and the consumable side. So we know that there are a variety of incubators out in the market, which basically talk about maintaining stable environmental conditions for embryos to develop. You have standard box incubators, which look something like this. You have benchtop incubators. You have incubators which you can stack over one another. You have incubators that look like drawers. You have, again, time-lapse systems of different sizes. There are so many systems that are actually available in the market itself. So I'll talk about one of the most expensive add-on for the laboratory, and that's a time-lapse system. Now, this is how a time-lapse system actually provides information to you. So it's basically an incubator which has cameras attached inside it. And these cameras take images every 5 to 10 seconds. They stitch those images up, and it appears as a video to you, where you can actually track embryonic development. You can pause it, you can annotate it, you can grade each and every cell. Basically, you're looking at the morphokinetic parameters for such embryos. Some of these incubators will also provide a scoring system. They have algorithms within themselves. So this scoring system can actually tell us which embryo has the highest potential based on their data set to become a blastocyst and then result in a pregnancy or not. Now, when you look at the HFEA data, this is rated as black. Now, this basically means that there is no evidence to suggest that the chances of having a baby actually increases with time lapse, or the chances of having a baby increases with the choice of embryo based on the algorithm. So that's what the ratings are as of now. But again, as far as an incubator is concerned, time-lapse provides us with a lot of potential for research. We can actually look at a lot of different data set points, different cell pattern divisions, and then correlate it with implantation, correlated with live birth, correlated with aneuploidy, And these are certain studies which in the long run, hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, will actually give us more evidence-based practice for our patients. So that was my 2 cents on time lapse. Okay, now let's move on to the dishes. Now, we know that there are, again, so many different types of dishes that are associated. And this is something that I wanted to cover today because not many people actually talk about consumables within the laboratory and the add-ons for the consumables that we can use. Most of us are using petri dishes or centerville dishes or four-well dishes for embryo culture, but there are a lot of specific dishes which are actually designed for embryo culture and actually improving embryonic culture. Now, what are we looking at? We are wanting to look at the change in the osmolality when we're using such a dish. We are also wanting to look at the temperature. So all of these dishes were tested, and actually there are some of them, especially the micro well ones, which fit into a certain system, which actually has the least change in osmolality over a period of 7 days as compared to a regular petri dish or a centerville dish. When you look at the thermal footprint of such dishes, you can actually see that these are all subjected to the same temperature, but you can see that the temperature inside the dish actually varies from dish to dish. And this is of importance. Square dishes are actually having better thermal transfer as compared to circular dishes. And this was something which was new to me. And that's why I wanted to bring forth this point to you, all of you who are listening today as well. We also can think of dynamic culture. Now, this is a poor video, but if you look inside the incubator itself, you can actually see that the platform is moving itself. And when you look at other systems which are actually being studied for mouse and as well as bovine models, you can see that they're using rotatory culture. And what this has shown is that the number of cells within the blastocyst actually increase if there is a certain amount of movement within the embryonic culture environment itself. 44 hertz of vibrations can actually improve the trophectoderm cells and the number of trophectoderm cells in a blastocyst, even in human studies. We are also moving towards microfluidics. Now, we know that there are microfluidic systems that exist for sperm selection, but there are also microfluidic systems that exist for embryo culture. Now, I'll show you a couple of them. This is a system that's coming up where using microfluidic chambers or a dynamic fluid environment, you can actually control the nutrients that actually go into the culture media itself. Let's say I want to switch from a day 2 media to a day 3 or a blastocyst media. This can actually be done using perfusion methods, and these are systems that are being studied as of now. This is another video which will show you that when you press a button, there is a certain amount of nutrients that can actually enter into the culture environment, and you can also take samples. So let's say I want to do a metabolic assessment or a NIPGT for such a patient. I can even take samples from these microfluidic channels, which can actually in the future basically optimize testing for all embryos and help us improve our outcomes. And this is the lab on a chip concept that was being studied by Denis Abbas and David Gardner's group. This is called as it's a nest and a cradle kind of a system that exists. This is from Jeremy Thompson's group. I'm coming to the end of my presentation now. What this does is that, so again, this is a dynamic system where they're using two different perfusion channels for embryonic development. The embryo is actually placed here, and as and when media is introduced, the embryo also moves. So we are introducing dynamic culture where the embryo is moving within the well itself, and also we're supplementing it with what it needs during that said required time. So these are new innovations. This is actually one of the most latest innovation that's coming up in embryonic culture. And when we add imaging to it, we now have non-invasive label-free optic analysis. So in the same system now, imaging can also be implemented where you can use
bad. And I'll just show you a quick video here. These are mouse embryos.
NAD and FAD. which can actually tell us whether these embryos are viable, whether these embryos have a potential to become a good blastocyst, and which of these blastocysts are actually having the highest potential. And these are all live imaging without staining, without causing any harm to the embryo. And it can actually tell us about the DNA structure of the embryonic cells itself. There's also work going on which using such imaging, it can also predict whether the embryo is euploid or not. So this is where we are actually moving towards um, in the near future. And this is how it actually looks like when we do the imaging itself. So based on all of this, we are moving towards automation, and we're moving towards us having very redundant roles in the laboratory itself, where the machine does the process for you, it does the selection for you, and you just have to be there just to actually handle things if there is anything that goes wrong within the environment. This is just a small video of how a dish is actually being made using an automated system, but the whole process of IVF has been automated now. There's a lab in Mexico that actually is doing everything, every single process using a machine. And the future, I'm sure all of you have seen this. This video went viral a couple of months ago, where we're now moving towards even life being uh, handled and nurtured outside of the uterine environment itself. Ectolife is the company that's actually trying to do this. And basically, it's not that far in the future, because we know that it's already been done in animals. This is a lamb that was actually grown within an artificial womb itself. It was born 8 weeks prematurely, so they kept it for about 8 weeks within this artificial womb environment. They uh, connected the umbilical cord and did all the perfusion using the mechanisms here. It was in a culture nutrient-rich environment. And this lamb, like I showed it to you here, is actually alive, walking, and has no issues. So this is where we are actually moving towards. So this was my 2 cents. It's honestly speaking, on add-ons in the lab is a very challenging topic, and you basically can't cover all of the add-ons in a couple of days. So I tried to do as much as far as enhancing the environment was concerned. But with ISAR, we have actually come up with guidelines for add-on treatments in the IVF laboratory itself. This is the ISAR consensus document that was published in 2022. So if any of you are interested in reading about these guidelines, this is free to download. It is in JHRS. You can actually read this for the Indian Society guidelines. Thank you everyone for your patient listening. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Great talk, Keshav. So you have shown both the things. And one thing I have come to know before your talk, adjuvant, you used to have that only adjuvant, mainly very few things. But in consumables, you have added, and that's a great idea.
I
Great.
specifically did not touch upon the procedures. This time I wanted to do something different.
Yeah, it was different.
Thank you, Dr. Keshav, for your nice talk. You have covered almost all the aspects of a lab system. I just want to ask you one question. While using embryo glue,
Yeah.
in which substrate of patient you want to use? Do you use routinely, or only in fresh transfer, or in single embryo transfer?
I have started using it routinely. In our data, like the data that I've shown, there has been a significant increase in implantation rate, clinical pregnancy rates, and even live birth rates. So I have shifted completely to transfer within embryo glue for blastocysts. If we are still doing day 3 transfers, we still do in single step, which is a very small population within the group. And that's it.
Do you do single embryo transfer or double embryo?
I would say 70% is double embryo still. We're trying to move towards single embryo. If it's a genetically tested embryo, then definitely it's a single embryo transfer. In younger patients, good prognosis patients, we try and counsel them for single embryo. Some of them accept it, some of them don't want to do it. So it depends. But I would say it's 70-30 as of now.
Dr. Keshav, 70% means not the blastocyst, day 2, day 3.
No, blastocyst only.
So blastose is also 70% to blast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Keshav. We always knew that it is going to be great hearing you, and you all always and absolutely live up to that expectations always. So
Thank
clear,
you.
so relevant, and so engaging. We all truly enjoyed it. There are a few questions from participants. Somebody wanted to know indication of using adjuvants in infertility. So probably you have given the answer. Your guidelines are already there. Would you like to answer?
I think this is a very broad question, and the whole series, whole webinar today is actually dedicated towards indications for using adjuvant.
The webinar only, I think.
I
Yeah.
think we listen to the whole webinar for this answer.
Yeah, but there
Somebody
are
wanted to know.
couple of more questions here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I personally wanted to ask one question. In your experience, is there a specific patient profile like repeated implantation failure or poor embryo development where embryo like GM CSF should be used? Or can you quote any
Okay.
case where they have made a significant difference?
I have actually studied this in our clinic as well, where we tried to use GM-CSF for older age patients, AMA, and also tried to supplement GM-CSF at day 3, where we saw increase in the fragmentation rates, and we tried to look at the blastulation. Both scenarios, I did not see any difference. The only area where I am seeing a difference using GM-CSF is post-warming blastocyst re-expansion and blastocyst viability and that's where I am right now convinced that it actually is making a difference.
So what could be the reason behind this? Is something very, very surprising. Anyways, that is.
It actually is, it facilitates the growth of the cells. It protects viability. I mean, there are lots of roles that GM-CSF plays during embryonic development. And I mean,
It is going to be very detailed, but very
this in
quickly,
detail.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
would like to know one thing. What is your take on embryo glue? It is something very, very hot in the market. So as you have suggested, you are using it for all the blastocyst transfers unanimously?
I am using it for all of my transfers. It is something that has shown to increase
Yes.
pregnancy rates, especially in fresh transfers. But we now use embryo glue as a universal transfer media for both fresh and frozen cycles. And I mean, it's even if we are considering it not as an add-on or something that's not going to improve results, using a small amount of media, which is not very expensive to the patient itself, really doesn't make a difference. And even if it increases pregnancy rates in frozen transfers by even a couple of percentage points,
Yes.
it's something that we think it's good for the patient. Fresh transfer,
But per
definitely there is
transfer,
a
what is the increase in the cost per transfer when you use hyaluron?
hardly comes to about the cost to the lab comes to about 700 to 800 rupees. It's not that much. You
Okay.
get a 10 ml vial. It totally depends on the amount of culture media or amount of glue media that you use for the transfer itself. So the cost can easily be optimized and you can easily absorb it within your own IVF package costs.
Right.
Yeah. So very quickly, one more thing. What is your take on adding antioxidant supplementation in culture media?
I actually did a pilot for them when the media was coming out in 2020. I did not find any differences, and I did not use it after that.
Thank you so much. Means you always do a pilot study before introducing any adjuvant into your lab. You generally don't generalize it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So cost implications, Dr. Monica ma'am has asked.
Yeah. I wanted to know, Keshav, whether GM-CSF is same as GCSF.
No, it's not the same.
It's not. There are like GM-CSF is used in lab.
In the
And
lab.
GCSF is used that intrauterine adjuvant, which I'll be talking about in my talk. But Keshav has done almost half of my job, you know. So
One very quick question. Okay, sorry.
Yes. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Have you ever discontinued using a particular lab adjuvant after observing no clinical benefit? As you are saying, antioxidant.
Yes. So laser is something that I have discontinued for my frozen cycles. And this was looking at all of the data. Like I would say 8 years, 9 years down the line, we were doing it for all of our patients. Then we shifted towards only frozen cycles, and now we don't even do it for frozen cycles because there's no benefit. So laser is something that's only now used for biopsies. That's it. So that's one example.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
are you using microfluidics, Keshav? And
Yes,
yes, and
I'm using
if
my.
you want to introduce microfluidics in your lab, where to start? Which would be the easiest way to start?
Ma'am, it's actually really easy to introduce into the laboratory because it removes all of the steps of sperm preparation. You just load the sample into the microfluidic device, and then extract the good quality sperms, which is just you aspirate the media on top of the device itself. And what I've seen is that when you do a post preparation DNA fragmentation index for such samples, the amount of normal sperms are actually almost above 95%. So this is something that can really change the way that we prepare sperms. Obviously, this comes with a cost, and that's one of the reasons why we've not been able to implement it for all cycles. But in patients who have high DNA fragmentations, my like practice now is shifting from using Pixie towards microfluidics.
Wonderful. And
I have a question. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Keshav. It was a very a brilliant deliberation. And I have a question that you have focused about the culture media, oxidative stress. So, what we have come to know that the in the lab, whatever oxidative stress or other things are there, the culture media or your incubators are more important, for that purpose. So, do you have, I mean, some special, culture media that can reduce this stress to the embryo, developing embryo, or in your, incubator? I mean, although we all have devices which can assess, but
Yeah.
anything extra you want to, I mean, highlight?
There are now new culture media formulations that exist. I don't know if I can name companies, but they're available in the Indian market itself, where they have supplemented culture media with antioxidants. Professor Gardner's study is solely based on supplementation of antioxidants and improving blastocyst quality, especially for that older age group patients who might be more susceptible to reactive oxygen species within the culture systems itself. So that's one. There are also studies that are coming up on melatonin and use of melatonin in culture media. There are studies that are there for fatty acid supplementation within thawing media, which reduces the stress on the blastocyst while warming the blastocyst. So a lot is happening, but there is only one readily available commercial formulation in the Indian market, which is available as of now, and that's something that I discussed today.
So I don't want to know the, I don't want that you tell the brand name, but can you tell the content, because that can decide that this is the like media which is.
The problem is that the contents are confidential, so I also don't know.
I mean,
Aradhana, can we proceed? Can we proceed now?
No, Monica, I just wanted to
Listen,
know, like, if we want to change our culture media because of such things.
We
So,
changed it to the antioxidant rich culture media. I don't
this is
know
what
which antioxidant they're using.
Yeah, yeah. I like to, Dr. Radna, I like. They don't mention the minute details in the
but
culture
we can
pack.
ask them, na, ki we
Yeah,
want the
yeah,
media
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
rich
We
in
can ask them.
antioxidant. This is what I was
Yeah, the
asking.
company.
In
Yeah,
what way
we can
we should
ask the
ask?
company. Yeah, company will provide us because
And
we've been asked.
microdosage is really something you have highlighted as a very good method for
Yeah,
the.
and Keshav, just one want, because I am also learning. Last 25
I'm
years, I am a
into
embryologist.
microfluidics
So
a
Keshav,
lot.
just I want one question.
Yes, sir.
Day 3 versus day 5 transfers, because all these adjuvants will be adjusted according to your culture growth. So you're shifting. What is you are transferring at day 3, day 2, day 3, or day 5? Your target one, the first target is day 5 always, or you have a flexible?
My first target is day 5 always.
Yeah.
Until it is a patient where I foresee that I might not get like a blastocyst, or I don't perceive that there is any benefit of doing a blastocyst transfer. Like if there's only one embryo, or if there's
Yeah.
a very, very poor quality embryo,
Yeah.
or and the patient is adamant for a
Yeah.
transfer, and we can't risk a cycle cancellation. So only in those specific group of patient, we'll still do a day 3 transfer. We don't do day 2 anymore. And this is about maybe 1 or 2% of our cases. All of the other cases are towards blastocyst transfer.
And one just add on, everybody says every 4 to 5 embryos become one blast. In last year, 20 years experience, I have seen sometimes 2 embryos, they become both the blast. So just I want, without wasting time, what is your experience?
Patient to patient.
It is variable. It depends on a lot of factors. And I mean, I just can't give you an
That's
answer
good.
for
That's
this.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so much,
I think
Keshav.
move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Move on. We have a panel also. So Dr. Pratik Tambe will be waiting after my talk.
Thank you. Thank you,
But it
ma'am.
was a
Thank
good
you for
idea
the
to keep questions after each talk, Manisha, because then the talk is fresh in your mind. Okay. So I think I hand over the session to Shweta, and
Yes, ma'am.
Shweta will take us to the session 2.
Thank
The session we have the topic Become IVF Smart, evidence-based use of adjuvants in IVF. Can I have the chairperson see? First, we have Dr. Alka Gehlot, ma'am. Madam is Rajasthan ISAR Vice President. Madam is Professor in HOD Reproductive Medicine and Surgery, National Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Jaipur. Madam is also the executive member of ISAR Rajasthan chapter, teaching faculty to students of MCH Reproductive Medicine and Surgery. More than 20 years of experience in the field of reproductive medicine. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta.
Dr. Vibha Kailash Garg, madam. Madam is honorary consultant at Fortis Hospital, Jaipur, secretary ISAR Rajasthan chapter. And madam is also International Fertility and Healthcare Center, Jaipur consultant. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Dr. Aradhana Gupta, ma'am. Madam is director at Aradhana Test Tube Baby Center, Bhopal. Madam is State Appropriate Authority Committee member for ART and Surrogacy, Managing Committee member MPSR, Executive Committee member of BOGS, and member of American Society for Reproductive Medicine. Madam is also Foxy accredited trainer for infertility courses since 2013. We welcome you, madam. Over to chairperson for introduction of our speaker, Dr. Monica, madam.
So good evening, everybody, everyone. We all know that very important topics we are discussing here. And recently, like just now, we discussed what are the adjuvants, what is the importance of adjuvants in the laboratory. And on the patient front, what adjuvants we are going to discuss, Dr. Monica Singh is going to present her talk on this topic. We all know about Dr. Monica Singh, but I will give a short introduction. So, Dr. Monica is President-elect Bhopal Obstetrics and Gynecological Society and founder president of ISOPOP chapter of Bhopal, 2024 to 2027, and national executive member of ISAR 2024 to 2027. She is also vice president Bhopal Menopause Society and honorary secretary of MP chapter ISAR from 2023
Okay,
to
madam. It's okay.
2025.
Welcome, ma'am. It's
So,
okay.
yeah, we can start as we
Bye,
are
bye.
getting late. We can
Yes,
start
ma'am.
this very important topic.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
over to you, Dr. Monica.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Alka, ma'am, for the honors. And I welcome my other chairpersons, Dr. Vibha Garg, madam, and my friend, Dr. Aradhana from Bhopal. So without further ado, can you stop sharing? Yeah, yes. So the other part of the session on adjuvants is the clinics. So I also have a couple of lab adjuvants which are there in the guidelines. And a large part of my talk is based on, the ESHRE guidelines. So the ESHRE guidelines have got opinion which they have formed both on lab adjuvants as well as clinical adjuvants. Are my slides visible?
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you, madam. So we will be speaking in the next 25 minutes on the role of adjuvants in infertility practice. And we know that there are some good practice recommendations for add-ons which have come in reproductive medicine, and they were formulated by the ESHRE working group. And this was done as recently as 2023, wherein a number of scientists all over the world and researchers, they sat down to formulate these recommendations. Some of them, like Polizos, Dr. Polizos, and they come regularly to India to take talks. So we have interacted with them, and they are in the HR. They are, you can access them anytime. So what is interesting about these recommendations is that they have to be questioned. Like everything you inculcate in your practice is to be questioned by you yourself, that are they safe, effective? Am I justified in using this in my patient? So 42 of these recommendations were used and studied because the ART is such a treatment that is extremely high motivation of the patient to conceive. The patient undergoing ART is one of the most motivated and very highly vulnerable patients. So they accept all these new therapies very readily, anything to get that pregnancy. So when these supplementary options are made available to the patient on top of the standard fertility procedure, they are known as adjuvants, and they typically also incur additional cost. So I will explain you what of these recommendations, how many are actually, good enough to be inculcated in your practice. And they offer valuable direction to all of us because we are in the end responsible for the care of these patients and to provide safe and effective ART. But at the end of the day, we must remember that all decisions should be informed to the patient and realistic expectations should be given to them. Whenever these recommendations are given to patient, four standard phrases are used in order to give the implications of these recommendations to the patient. How do you say that they work or they don't work? So either they are recommended or they are just to be, they can be considered, or they could be currently not recommended or not recommended at all. So recommended are those interventions which can be applied to most patients in whom they are relevant. So you can do it with confidence that you can inculcate in your practice. Can be considered means you can adopt these recommendations as a policy after only thorough discussions about the benefits and the risks, and when you use them, you have to closely monitor, follow up, and evaluate. The orange ones are the ones which are not currently recommended for routine clinical use, but this evidence may change when further studies come up about efficacy and safety. But on a specific patient group, you can apply these like a patient with cancer. And there are some recommendations which are totally not recommended because of safety concerns or because of total lack of efficacy or biological rationale or the test and intervention which should not be applied to a patient. Only in research settings you can adopt these. So that again brings us to the dilemma, which add-ons are actually safe and effective to be used in ERT treatment. So, out of the 42 recommendations that these doctors came out with, they were called add-ons in reproductive medicine as they are published in HR. None of them, you'll be surprised, are based on high quality evidence. Only 4 out of 42 are based on moderate quality evidence. Many of them we have listened to, like Embryo glue. And 95% of these recommendations, that is 38, are based on low quality evidence. So that takes us again to the definition of adjuvants and what actually are adjuvants. They are just tools or agents or procedures which can improve fertility outcome in assisted reproduction. They are optional, they are additional, they are not standard treatment, and they should be offered on top of standard fertility treatment. The purpose is either you want to improve the number of follicles or the maturation of the follicles, yield of follicles, oocyte quality, oocyte maturation, embryo quality, implantation, endometrium quality, reduce risk like OHSS, and counteract the effect of oxygen-free radicals like Keshav just talked about. So these are our objectives when we consider the add-ons. So why are So many doubts, so many dubious outcomes. Why are we still discussing add-ons? This is because that when the treatment fails, when the IVF cycle fails, it is a distressing event not only for the patient but also for the treating doctor. And some patients, the failure, the risk of failure and the financial aspect of failure is so much that they drop out. There are so many dropouts in IVF treatment. But others who can afford and who are willing to go forward, they really become desperate to try other presumed better treatment options. At the same time, their doctor is driven by the wish to do the best. Sometimes this pressure is to do something for the patient, and sometimes there comes a competitive feeling from the peer group. Oh, that person is using, that center is using, oh, Keshav is using, or commercial motives sometimes come in beyond standard treatment. Okay, patient is affording another couple of thousand, let me go ahead. So the innovative nature of ART, coupled with determination of patients and the desperation of patients, has paved the way for utilization of these add-ons. And these are, I repeat, available on top of standard fertility treatment, incurring an additional cost to the patient. And the common aim of any innovative measure or add-on is to enhance the pregnancy rate or the live birth rate, mitigate or lessen the miscarriage rate, and expedite the time to pregnancy. The best criteria is, of course, the live birth rate. So these guidelines were divided into three parts. The first part deals with diagnosis and diagnostic tests. The second part of the guidelines deals about laboratory tests and interventions. And the third part of the guidelines is based on clinical management. The most controversial diagnostic test, we start from the clinical. That is the screening hysteroscopy. There is not a single IVF center where hysteroscopy is advised day in or day out, pre-IVF or for a pathology. But remember, if you are doing a good TVS and you're getting a beautiful uterine cavity on your 2D and your 3D scan, where you can see the entire uterine cavity, you can see the good shape, the spacious cavity, a good junctional zone, and no intrauterine abnormality, a screening hysteroscopy is currently not recommended for routine clinical use. But in cases of recurrent implantation failure, ESHRE says that you can use screening hysteroscopy and it may help. And here screening hysteroscopy also acts like the endometrial scratch in some patients. Coming to ERA. So I think it was pre-COVID that ERA was at the peak of popularity, and the presently available endometrial receptivity tests, I am justified in saying are totally not recommended in clinical practice. So what actually is endometrial receptivity assay? So this tests for multiple genes. About that time, there were 248 genes, must be 300 genes inside the uterine cavity in the endometrium. These genomic structure is tested, and then the endometrium in the pre-IVF cycle, it's biopsied and it is classified as either pre-receptive or receptive or proliferative. The good point about ERA is that when you do the ERA test and you repeat this test on multiple cycles in a particular patient, you will get the consistently same result. But at the same time, doing ERA will not give you guarantee of a, increase in the pregnancy rate, clinical pregnancy rate, or the live birth rate. It incurs an additional cost, which is more than 50,000 in India. So it is definitely not recommended either by the guidelines or clinically for us. Coming to the most controversial part, that is the immunological tests and treatments, natural killer cell, KIR or the killer cell immunoglobulin like receptor cells, and HLA genotypes. Now, there are very many centers, especially in metropolitan cities, who are making a lot of, publicity and a lot of social media talk about using lit therapy, about using natural killer cell testing, genotyping. But remember, when you do the peripheral blood testing for immune parameters like natural killer cells, something which is natural in the body, those natural killer cells in the periphery or in your venous blood do not correspond to the natural killer cell population in the uterine cavity. And the uterine natural killer cell population is actually something which also is there during the time of implantation. So when you're harvesting the natural killer cell population in the uterine cavity and telling the patient that this is disturbed, you might be just reading the physiological parameters. Similarly, there is a lot of misleading data related to KIR and HLA genotyping. So these three tests are not recommended by the guidelines. Coming to even more controversial immunomodulating treatment. So there was a patient who walked into my clinic. She was carrying bottles of this intralipid solution from Mumbai, and she was getting her IVF done from Mumbai, and she had come to Bhopal in between. So she told me to give her intralipids for 3 days. So though I do not believe in it, I had to give it. I was so scared for those reaction and everything. We were watching the patient very carefully, but she took the IV infusion very well. And intralipid is nothing. It is a parenteral nutrition. So it is made up of derivative from egg albumin. There is derivative from glycerine, albumin. So everything is in a bottle. And intralipids are supposed to probably increase implantation in some way. How it works, we don't know. That is why it has come into the scanner. Similarly, intravenous immunoglobulins, very expensive therapy, has got no proven rationale for using it. Leukemia inhibitory factor, peripheral blood mononuclear cells, and anti-tumor necrosis factor. All these therapies known as immunomodulators and modulate the immunology of your body for the sake of pregnancy, because all of them consider that your pregnancy is something which is your fetus is an allograft. So these therapies consider that the fetus is going to get rejected in your body because it is an allograft. So you have to reduce the immunological potency of your body's immune reaction. But that is actually not justified and definitely not recommended. Coming to the second part of my guidelines, so this part of my talk has already been made very clear by Dr. Keshav Malhotra, but I'll be just going to the clinical little bits which we sometimes, want to talk to patients about, because though the embryologist is in the lab and doing a lot of hard work, you are sitting in your OPD and explaining and counseling the patients and telling the couple about, the latest technologies. So you should know something about everything. So artificial oocyte activation is basically, see, this color is green. In hysteroscopy also, I use the green color of the slide. So this means the hysteroscopy recommendation was modest evidence. Similarly, AOA or artificial oocyte activation recommendation is also having modest evidence in those cases where there is total fertilization failure. So artificial oocyte activation is recommended in those cases with total fertilization failure, 0% 2p, and very low fertilization. We get less than 30% fertilization, or globozoospermia. What is globozoospermia? Here the sperm head, the acrosome is defective. It is rounded. There is mid-segment defect and there is DNA chromatin defect in the sperm. Here the artificial oocyte activation is done by something known as ionophores. So there are two chemicals which are used, calcimycin and ionomycin. These are ionophores, and the funda behind this is that the oocyte gets activated when the calcium ions, they are oscillating in certain fluxes inside the cytoplasm, and when that calcium level is not reached inside the ooplasm or the cytoplasm of the oocyte doesn't get fertilized. So these ionophores, calcimycin, ionomycin, they bind to the calcium ions and they help in moving the calcium ion from the culture medium into the oocyte. So this is the whole way why artificial oocyte activation can be used in labs in certain cases. Mitochondrial replacement therapy was very popular when we studied the three-parent IVF, where the whole of the mitochondria from the donor oocyte was transferred or put inside the maternal oocyte in order to improve the oocyte quality. But again, it is not recommended by the guidelines. In vitro activation of dormant follicles is also not recommended. In short, this is like usually done in premature ovarian insufficiency or POI cases. The ovary where the dormant follicles are there and these follicles are not growing despite stimulation, you take out that ovary, you sort of crush it or denature it, and that activates the dormant follicles, and then it is transplanted back inside the body. Again, it's a very, very research setting activity. IVM, we have known people who did IVF, started IVF when I did between 2005 to 2010, know they. We talked a lot about IVM in PCO patients. So in PCO patients, you do not give the HCG trigger. We just take the patients to the follicles to a size of 9 to 12 mm. And without HCG trigger, you take out you retrieve the oocytes and then you mature them in the lab. So when you do IVM for PCO patients, that is not an add-on. So IVM basically cuts down the time of stimulation, cuts down the cost of stimulation, cuts down the risk of OHSS. So this is actually something which is logical theoretically, but a patient who has got a natural cycle who is not PCO and undergoes IVM has the only advantage that she has a short cycle and a less expensive cycle, but currently not recommended for routine clinical use. Sperm DNA damage testing is very fashionable nowadays, and most of our male patients with even like the oligo oats and asthenozoospermia and poor motility, we are routinely putting on antioxidants. But having said that, the oxidative stress measurement and sperm DNA fragmentation test, doing it on every patient for routine clinical use, is not recommended. Similarly, there's something called artificial sperm activation, which can be done. See, again, the slide is in green. This means this has got moderate evidence to back it up. So artificial sperm activation using some, chemicals is recommended for this works through the cyclic AMP pathway. This is recommended for those patients with primary or secondary total asthenozoospermia, which are not the result of structural defect. So if there is a structural defect like Cartagena syndrome, then this will not work. But you must have heard of PVP in the lab. So these are the molecules which are recommended for artificial sperm activation, because when there is an immotile sperm in the semen sample, then it's very difficult for the embryologist to find out whether it is immotile and viable sperm or immotile and non-viable sperm. So when you will add the PVP or something, that sperm gets, attracted to the PVP and the motility starts almost immediately. So it becomes a sperm selection method also, because only the viable and the good quality sperm will go to the PVP. So this is known as artificial sperm activation. Coming to advanced methods of sperm evaluation and selection, I think these will come into vogue as time goes by, like MAC. You must have heard about magnetic activated cell sorting, which is used in research setting nowadays. Microfluidics in green means moderate evidence to back it up. And Keshav has already given us a thumbs up about microfluidics. Manisha is there. I think she was very happy to listen to microfluidics. And we had another webinar, Manisha and myself, wherein Priya Kannan spoke at length about microfluidics. And this is basically, channels, such thin and such microliter, picoliter, microliter channels which are created within a glass chip, that the sperm inside, when put inside, mimics the reproductive tract of the female, the channels. So without using any centrifugation or any harsh measure, you can select the best quality sperms, and it can also, microfluidics can also be applied for embryo selection also. So coming to IMSI, that is the morphological sperm injection by selecting the best possible sperm. Here you use a magnification of up to 6,000 into 6,000, and it really magnifies the sperm before you selecting that sperm for injection. But again, it has not led to any improvement in the clinical pregnancy rates. Supplementation to embryo culture medium, we've also listened in the first talk. So again, growth factor, whether you add to the embryo culture media, is not recommended. Assisted hatching, again, our laser devices are just lying in the lab. Assisted hatching, whether by chemical method, mechanical method, or laser method, is not recommended, will not lead to improvement in the results. And now the most important part of the guidelines is the clinical management. Here, these technologies and measures we adopt, the ART specialist adopts in order to improve the live birth rate. And the most, very much in vogue is PGTA, that is pre-implantation genetic testing for aneuploidy, whether to do or not to do. Now, currently, it is not recommended for routine clinical use. The only thing is that if this is a patient of advanced maternal age and you test the multiple blastocysts for aneuploidy by taking a blastomere from biopsy on day 5 of culture, sending it and then freezing the blastocyst, you are basically telling her which embryo to transfer and which not to transfer. The negative side of this is plus the mosaicism in the embryo. Suppose you take the biopsy from the place where there is a mosaicism, you will not get a good result, and many of these mosaic embryos do implant. So that is why, considering all these muddled up things, PGTA is currently not recommended for routine clinical use. Whenever you use it, it has to be for a patient with multiple embryos and, of course, an affording patient. It is also, has been replaced partially by NIPT. So non-invasive PGT, here you take the spent culture medium. When you put a blastocyst in a culture medium, there is some fluid which seeps out, and this fluid in the spent culture medium is used to test for the, aneuploidy status of that embryo. And this is supposed to be less invasive as compared to PGTA. And it might come into vogue in the near future, but currently it is not recommended for routine clinical use. But having said that, it is much simpler to do than PGTA. Mitochondrial DNA load assessment is currently not recommended for routine clinical use, means the load of mitochondria in the embryo is assessed. Now here it means the embryo with more mitochondria DNA load is less likely to implant as compared to the less load. The reason being that the embryo which is quieter and which has got less metabolism is a better implanting embryo. जो शांत है, जो अच्छे से चुपचाप है, वो that is a better embryo as compared to the embryo which is more metabolically active. TLI, Keshav has told you that with or without embryo selection software, time-lapse imaging is very fancy, very high-tech, it looks very good. And there was a time in Eshrei, like I think 10 years back, 7 years back, 5 years back, Dr. Randir, every time he went to Eshrei, he was attending only time-lapse, only time-lapse. But after 2 or 3 meetings, it came out that time-lapse imaging is not recommended as a tool to improve live birth rate. The only utility is teaching, 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 and to improve your own knowledge. So that is how, and it helps to just form those algorithms which might help you, but it doesn't improve the clinical pregnancy rates. Coming to clinical management, a very favorite of all ART specialists is PRP. People are making PRP easily in their labs and using it intrauterine administration through the hysteroscopic channel, through, instillation, intraovarian. And what happens is when you centrifuge that autologous blood sample in the centrifuge machine, the platelet degenerates. The granules of the platelets which are released, they release growth factors, and these growth factors are supposed to improve the endometrial thickness, and it is supposed to stimulate folliculogenesis in poor responding ovaries. But they are both sadly not recommended because in large studies they have proved to be not useful. Similarly, there is a definite indication of duostim. Duostim, as you must be knowing, is double stimulation in one cycle. You stimulate the ovary in the follicular phase, you do the OPU, oocyte retrieval, and then you start stimulation again in the luteal phase and again retrieve the oocytes. So this is a definite value in fertility preservation cancer patients where you have to start chemo, radiotherapy, and you don't have time. And they can also be used to pool the embryos in poor responders, but not recommended for routine clinical use, only in specific cases. Adjuncts that during ovarian stimulation, whether they are metformin, growth hormone, testosterone, DHEA, aspirin, indomethacin, sildenafil before and during ovarian stimulation are strictly not recommended. In fact, some of them, like sildenafil, might harm the embryo. Intravaginal and intrauterine culture device, I did read about it, but they are not recommended for routine clinical use. But long ago, when we started IVF, we used to listen to the poor man's IVF, wherein a tube is made, which is gas permeable. This tube measures, it's a plastic tube, which is 3 centimeter by 4 centimeter. It is gas permeable. The embryos are transferred inside the tube in the culture medium, and this tube goes inside the fertilized embryos go inside the upper part of the vagina, where the woman keeps it for 3 to 5 days. They turn into, they multiply, they turn into day 3 embryos, day 5 embryos, and they have been, clinically proven pregnancies with intravaginal culture devices. Intrauterine culture devices are not very well described, but this is not reducing the cost of IVF, because there is going to be an embryologist who will do the ICSI or the IVF, will transfer the embryos inside the tube. Again, after taking out the tube, they will load the embryos, they will transfer inside the uterus. So it's basically not just cutting down the cost of the incubator, which in the long run is not very useful. Embryo glue in green because it has modest evidence. Hyaluronic acid addition to transfer media. These are known as adherence molecules. They also include albumin, fibrin, collagen. But here, because the glue really sticks, you have to monitor for multiple gestation. Increased rate of multiple gestation is there. And even more scary is monozygotic twinning, which we are really scared of. And another disadvantage of using the embryo glue is sometimes there might be fetal malformations. It might not work in frozen embryos. It might lead to ectopic, because if it does, the embryo glue laden drop does go to the tube, then it will not come back. There is a theory that when you do ET, the embryo rotates in the uterine cavity, goes inside the proximal part of the fallopian tube, comes back and implants. So here with the embryo glue, if you're putting the embryo there with the hyaluron, it might just move to the proximal part of the fallopian tube and just stick there. Endometrial scratching, again, a lot of embryos endometrial scratching was done from year 2015 to 2018. I think it was very much done in every IVF center, but it has currently not lost recommendation because it has not led to any improvement with clinical use. People used to do scratching with hysteroscope, with pipple, even a general, a little bit of scratch, but it is not recommended at all. Intrauterine administration of HCG, though it was my research paper in ESHRE many years back, it is not recommended. We are also not using it, but I am using intrauterine GCSF. In fact, yesterday only my patient of 7 endometrium conceived with GCSF, where I had given her 2 shots of GCSF, before ET. So, it's a recommendation to be used in specific patients. And GCSF is very much affordable also. Around 2-3 companies are making it in India. Now, these are some endometrial administrations. You can put the embryo culture supernatant, the spent media, you can put seminal plasma, you can use stem cells. So that is not recommended. And stem cell therapy for POI, for diminished ovarian reserve, and for thin endometrium. First of all, how to get the stem cells? Every city will not have, facility for stem cell retrieval or harvesting. The procedure for getting the stem cell from the patient, it was done in AIMS Delhi. There's a study and it has to be taken out from the iliac crest. Very painful, very lengthy procedure. I don't think every center will be able to do it. So I think it's best to be done in research setting. Glucocorticoids in any form are not recommended in ART, though it is a very, very cheap adjuvant to use. Elective freeze-all, though those who are doing elective freeze-all, it is not recommended. There is still a place for fresh embryo transfer. Freeze-all should be done with indications. Similarly, ICSI for all is not recommended. Antioxidant therapy is not recommended, but people are using it again because of availability and nothing better to use. Complementary and alternative medicine, whether you use acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, complementary therapies are not recommended. I think I'm coming to the end of my talk. So we have already talked about embryo glue. We've already talked about the demise of assisted hatching, artificial oocyte activation using ionomycin and calcimycin, the patient-centered adjuvants. We have some role too, we play around with heparin, we use aspirin, we continue aspirin during pregnancy. Sildenafil is still, proven through heterogeneous studies to improve vascularity and pregnancy rates. Coenzyme Q is being used. Immunotherapy has come under the scanner. Steroids, Cochrane review has, disallowed. Intralipids, again, there have been cases where patients have suffered from severe reactions due through IV infusion of intralipids. Immunoglobulins I have not used, but wherever it is being used, it is without evidence. Anti-tumor necrosis factor alpha, no immunological test to be advised. GCSF for thin endometrium still has a role to play as an adjunct, requires further studies. DHEA still has a role to play, but you should have ample time to give DHEA. Growth hormone, I don't have good experience, though it causes good follicles to grow, but these follicles, most of them are, empty follicles also. Endometrial injury can lead to release of cytokines, growth factors, but again, the RCTs suggest otherwise. The future innovations, will they be credible or not? We cannot reject, we cannot accept, but we have to embrace the recommendations where evidence is favorable and ascertain where they will be favorable by selecting a specific patient profile. So dismissing adjuvants altogether is also wrong because there is no one size fits all paradigm. Until then, let's keep an open mind, be honest and transparent, and with the patient, that is the best way forward for all of us. The ESHRE guidelines have been formulated to urge that all tests and interventions provided in clinical practice should be thoroughly evaluated for efficacy, safety, cost, relevance. And this should be a standard part of patient counseling. A clear distinction should be made between tests and interventions that are beneficial and those that are not, and which can be used only in research, and only evidence-based add-ons should be provided to the patients in clinical practice. So this is one of my favorite movies, The Final Reckoning, Tom Cruise. Though you don't learn from a situation where you do something well, you enjoy it in the good situation, you give yourself credit, but you don't really learn from that. You learn from trial and error all the time. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in adapting the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends upon the unreasonable man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica, for your nice, excellent talk. I have a question or query. What is your role in using heparin in case of RIF and RPL?
Sir, I use very selectively heparin. My favorite adjuvant is still GCSF and sildenafil. But now I've read about sildenafil and abnormality of embryo. Now again I'm in doubt. Heparin, wherever I have used, it has added to the cost of the patient, but I have not got those extraordinary results. Though I'm tempted to use, but those patients I have got the pregnancy in second, third cycle even without using heparin, sir. आपका एक्सपीरियंस है तो सर आप बताइए, हमारा तो बहुत अच्छा नहीं है. So
Categorically, I can't say whether it has a definite role or not.
yeah.
But in IF and RPL, I'm using so that I don't miss a pregnancy, or it might help.
So what is
But I
your
categorically can't say.
40 and 60? What body weight you use? 40 low molecular weight heparin, and what body weight you use 60?
I use 40 for
40 maximum.
yeah.
Weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Any experience with heparin, Aradhana?
Yeah, actually, for the repeated kind of the implantation failure, we used to give a heparin, Monica, and again, as sir said, we never went beyond the 40. So it's a low dose, and there is an entity where the tests are normal, but still they could be EPLA. No, so this is a very, rare entity. But as you all like showed in your slide, one size doesn't fit all. So kind of these are the individualized person. So maybe we can try before, because we all know like ERA and other things are they are like out of the picture and they are very costly affair. So let's try for the heparin. So it kind of like say after 2 cycle failure, the third we try heparin.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Mm.
Yes, yes, Akanksha.
Rest of the thing, Monica, you did a very good job, and I really congratulate you because you have made the slides very, very crisp and clear, notes with them, and with your personal experience also. So that's a very good effort, and everybody knows you are such a hardworking person. So no doubt we can expect the things, such thing from you. And it's, I think everybody has been very, very clear about what to do, what to not to do. But at the end of the day, as you have said very clearly, that everything is individualized. So I mean, there is, if something is not harming the patient, just try it. Maybe she is the one who is made for that particular molecule. So we can try. I mean, everybody is desperate to give the pregnancy, and we all know we can't give 100% result. So that way, I mean, in some of the patient, you can try. If it is not harming, maybe it will be beneficial. But yes, because here the patient is paying from the pocket. It's not insured infertility. So we have to keep a check that we should not, because I have seen the patient, they are taking, vaginally progesterone, they are taking injectable progesterone, they are taking orally progesterone, everything together, and which are very, highest dose, whatever written in the literature, and they're loaded with the progesterone. Everybody knows that too high level of the progesterone, they also cause the, the implantation failure. But people, they like load the patient with the progesterone. So something somewhere we should keep check on our, the prescription. And that's a very good presentation, Monica. And
Thank you.
very
Thank you,
accurate.
Garima, would you like to give your opinion?
Yeah, I think, ma'am, all the recent evidences have also suggested that at the end of the day, these IVF adjuvants have really not shown any significant change in the live birth rates. Now, the problem with the India is that at the end, when you have nothing working and the patients are on your head, what next to do, you may have to individualize one or two adjuvants as per your practice. I usually prefer for going for an endometrial PRP or an ovarian rejuvenation. That's the only adjuvant that I'm using. And yes, PGT, aneuploidy, amongst the others, which you have been also talked about. But other adjuvants, I have stopped using them.
Yeah, actually, the beauty of these guidelines is that whether you use the RPL guidelines or the adjuvant guidelines, they make things so crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
I gave a very simplified version of this talk in front of OBGY specialists recently, and they were so happy. It was yes and no, yes and no, They were, it wasn't as complicated. I made the talk very simple, but they wanted, yes, whether to use or not to use. And when they wanted the details, we could give that. And of course, the panel will also clear that. Pratik has already joined, Dr. Pratik Tambe. So thank you so much, my respected chairpersons. Thank you, Garima, for your inputs. Thank you, Ratul sir, for the discussion we had. And I think we can move to our panel discussion now.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Monica, thank you very much for a lovely talk. And it was so precise and so clear and very concise.
Thank you, Vibha ma'am. Thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome.
And now I think, Richa, would you like to start the session 3, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure to invite Pratik Tambe sir as a moderator for our panel discussion. I'm truly honored to introduce Dr. Pratik Tambe sir. Sir is ART consultant and gynae endoscopic surgeon at Ashirvad IVF Mumbai. And sir has been governing council member of ICOG 2021 to 25. Governing
That's
council.
enough. Let's introduce the panelists because there are way too many of them, and that's going to take time.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So now I will invite our panelist, Dr. Akansha Chauhan. So Dr. Akansha is a clinical director and senior fertility specialist and gynae laparoscopic surgeon at Lima Fertility Clinic, New Delhi, till date. And she has been visiting consultant in various hospitals.
Next is Dr. Ashwini Kale, Madam. Madam is Joint Secretary, Foxy. Madam is Chief Embryologist, Asha Kiran Hospital, Asha IVF Center, Pune. We welcome you, ma'am.
Next with us is Dr. Karanpreet Kaur Baxi. Dr. Karanpreet is currently working as junior consultant at Pushpanjali Super Specialty Hospital and has been a senior resident at AIIMS Bhopal.
Dr. K.M. Kunguma Sangeeta, Madam is former assistant professor at Madras Medical College and fellow in reproductive medicine, Simar, Edapal, Kerala.
Next with us is Dr. Mamta Chahas. She is a senior fertility specialist and gynae laparoscopic surgeon at Lima Fertility.
Dr. Neelam Bhise, Madam. Madam is managing committee member, Maharashtra chapter ISAR, and managing committee member, Indian Society for Assisted Reproduction. We welcome you, ma'am.
So next with us is Dr. Prateek Makwana. Dr. Prateek Makwana is director of Vasundhara IVF hospitals, Jodhpur, Jaipur, Lucknow, and Sri Ganganagar in Byawar. Welcome, sir.
Dr. Pratibha Chandrasekhan, Madam is Medical Director, Sri Bharati Hospital, Salem, and currently pursuing FRM at Simar, Kerala. We welcome you, ma'am.
So next with us is Dr. Preeti Gupta, Madam. Dr. Preeti Gupta is endoscopic surgeon and IVF specialist at Gwalior.
Dr. Richa Ainani Ahluwalia, Madam is Center Head Jiva IVF, Vaishali Nagar, Jaipur. Madam is Joint Secretary, Jaipur Obsgyne Society and Executive Member, Rajasthan Chapter ISAR. We welcome you, ma'am.
Next with us is Dr. Riju Chimote. Dr. Riju is a consultant at Vasundhara Fertility Center, Nagpur. And she has received ISAR Youth Brigade. She is a member of ISAR Youth Brigade. Welcome you, Dr. Riju.
Next, we have Dr. Sandhya Deepika. Madam is fertility consultant 49 Fertility Center, Secunderabad, and Madam has presented papers in many conferences. We welcome you, ma'am.
Next with us is Dr. Sheetal Savankar. Dr. Sheetal is director of Avisa IVF and Fertility Center and has been a managing committee member of MSR. We welcome you, Dr. Sheetal.
We have Dr. Sugatakar Thakkar with us. Madam is Medical Director at Medansh Multispecialty Hospital and Medansh IVF, Mumbai. And Madam is also the elected as MOGS Yuva lead in 2021 and 2022. And she is Managing Council member of Maharashtra State Chapter of ISAR. We welcome you, ma'am.
Next with us is Dr. Siuli Chaudhary, Madam. Madam is Director of Mon Emi Women's Clinic and IVF Center, Kolkata. And she has an experience of 20 years in this field. We welcome you, ma'am.
Lastly, we have Dr. Tanu Batra, ma'am. Madam is Chief Infertility and IVF Specialist at Indra IVF, Jaipur. She is also the honorary treasurer at Rajasthan ISAR chapter. We welcome you, ma'am.
So thank you very much, ISAR and Dr. Monica Singh, for inviting me to this prestigious CME. I have been listening patiently to the previous two talks, being here for quite some time, under the radar, so to speak. So when I accepted this invitation, I was just wondering how am I going to fit all these people onto one slide? And more importantly, when I'm actually looking at their faces, how do I manage to get this film strip to show me 16 faces? You know, it's a tall order because I need to see my panelists to be able to interact with them. I'm not one of those people who keep shooting questions, you know, in general and hope that somebody answers them. Usually I'm somebody who likes to interact even when we are on Zoom to try and look at people's faces, gauge how they're feeling, whether they're comfortable with a particular point or not. That visual feedback is important to me as a moderator. In any case, let's go over this panel quickly. We're already delayed, and a few simple things to keep in mind. Let's look at it from the point of view of a beginner fertility clinician. Not everybody practices in posh tertiary care, and not everybody is attached to corporate IVF chains. We'll look at 2 or 3 common clinical case scenarios. these theory topics have already been excellently covered in the 2 lectures. So this is just going to be a revision for everybody, especially for those of you who are tuned in at the audience link. Raising your hand is always ideal, but then I'm not sure if I'll be able to see you raising your hand. Let's see how it goes. Evidence-based answers are always appreciated. We've already seen an excellent lecture from Keshav Malhotra on adjuncts in the IVF laboratory. Plenty of papers published in good journals about these. This is one such paper in human reproduction. There's also a lot of noise about adjuncts in IVF clinical practice, and that is what mainly we'll be trying to cover in today's panel. And again, there are plenty of papers on this as well. And so much so that even the lay press has now gotten into the act. This is an article from The Guardian, which is just published last month on adjuvant therapies which patients may be using without informing clinicians. And of course, we use a lot of adjuvants in our own clinical practice, but many of them may be unproven. Quite a few of them may not be evidence-based, and the margins may be quite small. So let's look at this first case. This is a lady who's married since 5 years. She's in obese classic PCO, BMI is 33. Otherwise, everything is fine. She's undergone several cycles of oral ovulations, IUI, etc. Now she's finally tired of trying for so many years and she wants to do IVF. So Dr. Akanksha Chauhan, I think your name is alphabetically the first. I'd like to ask you, is there any role for adjuvants in this particular clinical case scenario? This is a patient who has obese classic PCO, BMI is high. Otherwise, everything is okay. Everything is already being done. Now, when you're planning her IVF treatment cycle, specifically, what adjuvants would you like for?
Good evening, sir. So I want to highlight because as we are seeing the patient is young and she's trying for 5 years and BMI is on higher side. So obviously she's a PCO patient. So
Yes.
she has undergone many oral ovulations cycles. So probably we are not sure whether she was, because there was no follicular study happening here. So she was responding
She's
to,
undergone IUI, so we presume that she had
she must be
ovulated at
ovulating,
some point.
obviously.
Yeah.
So, sir, the only so they are very restricted. We have hardly any evidence on the things for the IVF patients, but still, when the patient is having such a prolonged history of failed oral ovulations, we prefer putting up patients. Probably the patient is on metformin, or probably the patient is taking the other
Okay.
supplements.
So your choice would be to put her on an insulin sensitizer, metformin, and you mentioned myonisopron as well.
Probably
So
because
let's go to somebody else and get their opinion as well. Dr. Karanpreet Kaur, are you there by any chance? I'm just going alphabetically so that everybody has a chance to speak. All right, I don't see her.
Hello.
Dr.
Hi, sir.
Sangeeta, you're there?
Yes, sir.
Right, go ahead.
Uh,
Can you tell us what would be your choice of adjuvant in this particular patient?
It has
Or are
Dr.
adjuvants not
Akanksha.
really required because the evidence says that all of them are useless?
Sir, but metformin and myoanisotol insulin sensitizers have
So would you
been
like to
seen.
use both or any one of them
Sir,
preferably?
any one of them.
Any one of them? And what would be your choice?
Preferably
Dr.
metformin. I
Akanksha
would
likes
prefer.
metformin,
Yes, sir, I would also prefer metformin, sir.
so you also prefer metformin. So can I have somebody else's opinion who doesn't like metformin? Now you're free to raise your hand. Dr. Richa, Dr. Sheetal, Dr. Neelam, please unmute and tell us.
Hi,
Yeah,
sir.
please, go ahead.
Yeah, metformin is a good option, but again, I would also like to do her fasting insulin. I know she is her BMI is more, but then still it is better to figure out, and based on that, you can decide the dosage of metformin also. And it is like the first line management. In fact, it is approved by the guidelines also for the PCOS. So definitely.
So if her insulin is normal, you will not start metformin.
Maybe I'll start her on 500, not like the high dose of 3 times. But then, yes, fasting insulin is important because based on that, you can decide whether you want to increase the dose or not.
Okay.
Sir, we'll also
Anybody
ask
else? Neelam has raised the hand. Yes, Dr. Neelam.
Neelam,
You're
you are
muted, ma'am.
Yeah.
You are muted. Please unmute.
Metformin and myoinositol, as has been mentioned by previous panelists, reducing the BMI is more important here. So addition
Correct.
of
So
vitamin
we'll come
D.
to reducing BMI in just 1
Yes.
minute. What is your preferred
So my
insulin
preferred
sensitizer?
plan will be, of course, we have talking about the medical management, medical
Yeah.
pharmaceutical interventions. So apart from diet lifestyle, we are talking about B12, vitamin D, metformin, myoinositol,
So
and
metformin with myoinositol or metformin or myoinositol?
I use both.
You use both, but at the
Yes.
same time in the same patient. That's what
There
I'm asking.
are some combinations of metformin and myoinositol
Correct. So I'm
available.
coming to that. That's exactly what I'm asking. Would
So
you like to use both in a
when we are
patient like
talking
this?
about myoinositol and metformin, both have different mechanism of action at different places.
Yes.
So
Yes.
myoinositol is for sugar uptake and metformin is to insulin sensitizer. So
Okay, so you would
majorly,
like to use both synergistically.
yes.
Two people have raised their hand, Dr. Shrutika Thakkar and Dr. Ashwini Kare. Dr. Shrutika first, then Dr. Ashwini.
Sir, here I would like to know a little more. It is not only the high BMI that we are targeting. We want to see the type of PCOS also that the patient has. So whether
Correct.
she has like a very high vascular stroma, what is her AMH, because that would be a very important clue point for me to decide
So
whether
your
I want to
AMH is
get.
3.
So her AMH is baseline. I may not be giving her metformin other than
Yeah.
for weight loss. So if I were going to wait for say 3 or 4 months, and
Yeah.
then I was giving her targeted lifestyle modifications and then asking her to lose weight with high insulin resistance evident by say hirsutism, acanthosis nigricans, then I would
Okay.
have given her metformin and myoinositol combinations. But
Okay.
otherwise, I would not have given her insulin sensitizers at all, because the
Okay.
only role is for prevention of OHSs in
Fantastic.
IVF.
I'm happy somebody at least said that metformin and insulin sensitizers, specifically metformin, evidence says that it reduces the incidence of OHSS in PCO women who are undergoing IVF cycle. Now, two other people have raised their hand. I think Dr. Tanu Batra was one.
Yes, sir. Good
Go ahead.
evening, sir. Here, lifestyle modification is of course very important, but
Yeah,
other
we'll
than
cover
that, as Madam mentioned about metformin, but here I would also like to get a vitamin D test
Yes,
done.
that's also
If
been
it is
mentioned. We are
deficient,
going to start her
and
on
then
vitamin
start
D
with,
any which
yeah,
way for whatever help it
yes,
gives.
start
So
with
can you tell
vitamin.
us what is the role of vitamin D in obese classic PCO? How does it work and why does it work?
Vitamin D also, it sensitizes the receptors for good response to the oral ovulations also, sir.
So can I
And
put
it,
it this way and say that vitamin D is deficient in women with obese classic PCO, specifically obese women?
yes, most likely it is very often seen that obese
Yes.
patients are
And if
deficient,
you retrieve
obese
the
PCOS
follicular
patients.
fluid and you subject that to vitamin D levels, typically they'll be a little lower, and that is why we supplement with high
Yes.
doses of vitamin D. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Especially patients who are clomipene resistant, refractory, who are obese, etc., etc. Dr.
Yes.
Ashwini.
So though evidence definitely says that it wouldn't have a role right now, but there are many clinicians and many practitioners who would definitely use it. It may not be the first line of drug for your ovulation induction, but you can always use it in combination. And
Yes.
secondly, as you said, that is waiting an option. So her age is already 32. She's on the borderline. So it is
Correct.
again the patient's choice that how long has to wait. If you have
Correct.
already put her on lifestyle management, weight loss, so you'll anyways have to wait for 3 to 6 months, which is a
Most
long time
patients
and a
who are
patient
coming
of
to you
32
for
years.
IVF don't want to be told by the clinician, doctor, patient, please wait for a couple of months, let all this
Exactly.
masala act, and then we run the cycle. Patients
True.
don't want to hear that, even though that may be in
They
their
want
best
the
interest.
treatment right there and right now, and that is
Exactly.
the
They have
reason that
a
they
gun
have
to our head.
upgraded their treatment.
Exactly. I saw one more person has raised their hand. That is Dr. Sangeeta. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Please
Good
go ahead.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
I would like to do the treatment in a continued way, and I'll advise both the lifestyle modification along with metformin, myoinositol all together, because there is
Okay.
time has already run away. Myoinositol, by adding it increases the egg quality also, so it has
Okay.
some added. So I'll go with the synergistic action of both metformin, myoinositol, and weight loss. I will add aspirin also, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So that covers all the standard treatment. Now, there's one little adjuvant that a lot of people are talking about, especially in relation to obesity and weight loss, and that's the GLP-1 agonist, which is the new kid on the block. It's available in India since at least 1 year. Many of us have been using it in our patients, but we don't talk about it openly. We don't talk about it on fora like the ISAR. So let me have everybody's opinions.
please feel free to raise your hand and tell us what is your experience of using this drug or this group of drugs. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. This is a free forum. That's all right. You're not going to be criticized for your answers and your choices. Dr. Tanu Batra has raised her hand. Please go ahead. And Shrutika after that.
Yeah, so sir, I have been using for the last 6 months. It does cause weight loss in PCO patients who are willing to wait. Generally, we start with 3 milligram once a day for a month, increase to 7 milligram or 14 milligram depending upon. Now, especially for your BMI, I have also used bariatric surgery for some of my patients. Your BMI, you are saying, is 33. Now, that is between 31 to 35 is categorized as either level 2 bariatric surgery or you can give medical management. So we are justified in giving.
Western guidelines?
This is the Indian guidelines, not the Western guidelines.
Okay.
Because 35 and above, they generally suggest that you need gastric bypass, which is
you would directly
more
require bariatric surgery if you had a BMI of 35.
Of 35 and above, yes.
Correct.
This is
If
for the
you had
Indian
a BMI
guidelines because
of 30 with comorbidities, then again these weight loss
bariatric
agents
surgery,
are
yes.
recommended.
Yes.
Okay. Now, does anybody else want to add to that? I think somebody else had raised their hand, but now they've lowered their hand because they don't want to talk about it. Sheetal, any experience? Garima? I don't see Garima. Garima is very quiet.
I think, sir, it's lot of times patients don't want to get subjected to bariatric surgery, and in fact, this drug has made a lot of difference. And the good part is that it does not take very long time. As in, even if the patient tries to lose few kgs, I think it makes a lot of difference, and they are more acceptable to the tablet. So I think it is a good option even for patients who have a BMI.
So even 5% weight loss in a period of say 6 to 8 weeks makes a huge difference to the cycle that you're going to run.
Yes. Yeah, even the ovulation becomes better, and then obviously
Your
implantation.
oocyte quality is much better, response to stimulation is better, lower chances of OHSs, better, lesser consumption of FSH and so on and so forth. Dr. Riju is very quiet all along. I'm going to have a quick
Pratik
opinion
sir,
from
Garima
Dr.
here.
Riju. Hi, Garima.
Yeah, hi, sir. So just a quick thing. I think, yeah, with this BMI of 30, insulin sensitizers would not be the choice. It will be the GLP-1 agonist. But with a word of caution, with their GI side effects being something which is troublesome, the cost factor
Especially
you
in the
have to
initial phase.
yeah,
The first
and in the
1 week
initial
after
phase, so you
start.
just prime the patient about 3 to 4, 5 days for your gut to get sensitized to it. Cost factor to be taken, which is almost roughly goes to 15, 18K, and a good contraceptive to be used for that 6, 8 weeks before she actually starts planning for pregnancy.
That anyway, you're going to schedule a cycle, so you will put her on that. Dr. Sandhya has raised her hand quickly, and then we'll go to the next case.
So the newer injectable also has come, the subcutaneous one, the tirzepatide.
Correct. Correct. You can also use the subcutaneous variety,
Yeah,
though
that
that
is
tends to have much more severe
bad
side
side
effects than the oral version.
Yes.
But I've seen patient compliance is better with that than taking oral.
Yeah, patient compliance can be good if the side effect incidence is lower. And by and large, most of our Indian patients like the oral version. If you want to look like Karan Johar or something, then it's a different story altogether. Let's not get into that. We are talking about fertility. Okay, let's quickly go through the evidence as it stands on this particular case. Metformin is well known for reducing incidence of OHSS, and we know that specifically in patients who are undergoing stimulation and who are PCO women, insulin sensitizers are recommended. There is good amount of evidence regarding minoxidil, dichloroacetal. Specifically in Indian women, this is not something which is widely prescribed in Western literature. So we will not see international papers. And as rightly mentioned by our esteemed panelists, combinations seem to work better, especially in patients who have refractory obesity or resistant PCOS.
So one more point I wanted to add is about metformin. I think Shrutika spoke about OHSS. Also in these patients, if you continue giving the metformin, it reduces the chances of GDM and hypertension also in pregnancy. So it's an add-on.
Now that actually is very controversial today, and every 2 or 3 years there's a new guideline which comes which says exactly the opposite. Sometimes you have evidence which says yes, It does that. Currently, the thinking is that it doesn't really do much in pregnancy. So it's not something which we recommend, at least in the first trimester. Maybe in the second and third trimester, yes, but not in the first trimester. Important to note for the audience, if your BMI, when you start your stimulation, if it is between 30 to 35, outcomes in ART are reduced by 30%. If your BMI is more than 35, outcomes are reduced by 50%. And this is right across the board. So therefore, weight reduction is of paramount importance. This is the ISAR consensus on obesity management published last year in August of 2024, led by our immediate past president, Dr. Namita Palchetkar. There's a very nice algorithm there, which I have helped to formulate. And that talks about GLP, weight loss drugs, diet, exercise, systematic structured approach, step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. You can look it up, and that's something which will be of benefit. Let's go to the next case since we are running out of time. We are already at 7:30. Oh my God, the panel is supposed to be 6:30 to 7:30. This is a 38-year-old lady. She's married since 3 years, trying hard. Everything looks okay. When she underwent IVF, only 2 oocytes were retrieved. We had only one single A-grade 8-cell embryo, and unfortunately that didn't work. Antral follicle count now is 1 in each ovary. AMH is sad. How are we going to help this lady? Please raise your hands. I think Dr. Sangeeta had raised her hand a little while earlier. Yes, Dr. Sangeeta. And after that, Dr. Richa.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Sir, actually, first I'll categorize the patient according to the AMH. She falls under Poseidon criteria 4. So I'll try to give her a pre-treatment along with dihydroepiandrosterone, along with antioxidants like CoQ. Then I'll add probiotics also, sir. Then I'll analyze the protocol which was used prior. Then I'll try to make a change in the protocol. I'll better go for a long agonist protocol. Along with, I may prefer a growth hormone because even though HRA doesn't recommend, poor responders have some studies, meta-analysis has been made, which proves growth hormone has an effect. In the stimulation protocol, I'll analyze the protocol. We prefer agonist. If not, can go for embryo pooling as the number of embryos is very less.
Very good. Fantastic. So in a nutshell, you've covered everything. Thank you very much. Please leave some points for other people also to speak. Dr. Talu Batra has raised the hand. Please
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
sir. Thanks.
Dr. Richa Enani after that.
Yes. So here, it was rightly said that we have to counsel the patient. We can switch on to minimal stimulation protocol also and tell the patient about the pooling of the embryos. But before that, we have to prepare the patient by giving either DHE, but we usually using coenzyme Q. And I would also prefer to use androgel in this case. And,
can you tell us how do you use androgel? When do you start? How much do you use?
So we are usually using from day 8, we give it 12.5 milligram, 1 puff to be applied on the hairless area, and it has to be protected from sunlight, daily application till day 1 of the cycle, next cycle. And
so roughly you give it for about 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yes, for 3 weeks.
And what is the cost implication to the patient?
1,500.
But this
around
is not
1,500 is the cost of the bottle.
So basically, it is not very expensive, and it is a quick method of trying to get one extra follicle or one extra oocyte, rather than long duration of therapy, which is typically the case with DHA.
But
When you give
Pratik, there
oral
are
DHA,
recent patient papers which say that testosterone doesn't really work. As in, we were all using it because in between there were papers saying that it works wonderfully. But then again, there are newer studies which have said that it doesn't work really.
That's exactly what I was saying. You will get one extra follicle or maybe one extra oocyte. Whether that translates into pregnancy, your mileage is definitely going to vary. It's just a different protocol. It's one more alternative. The patient already has been taking DHA for 3 months, or previously she has been put on DHA and she wants something shorter. This is one option that we can offer our patients. Dr. Richa had raised her hand. Dr.
Yes, sir.
Richa.
Sir, we
Neelam
can
has also raised her hand.
Sir, we
So
can
Neelam after Dr.
definitely go for dual stimulation and estrogen priming before starting the protocol from day 20.
So why dual stimulation?
Sir, because your time is very crucial. We have to.
No, time is not crucial. She can wait for 15 days.
Sir, we can
You
explain
can do
because
2 cycles or 3
yes.
cycles back to back, do embryo pooling and do a transfer in the 4th cycle.
The luteal phase oocyte quality is either equivalent or better than the follicular phase oocytes.
Okay.
That is what the studies say. We can explain
Okay.
her that we can do that. We can give a estrogen priming before starting the next protocol, and
Okay.
we can always give growth hormone.
Okay.
Coenzyme Q10, and I also prefer ovarian. Explain her ovarian
So you would use
rejuvenation.
growth hormone in the luteal phase stimulation or
No,
the
no, no,
follicular phase
no, no,
stimulation or
from day
both?
2. No, because sir, what I have seen is if there is a asynchronous cohort, then
Yes.
growth hormone acts really well. And
Okay.
personally, I will also explain her ovarian PRP because after PRP, anyways, we have to wait
So
for
we'll
4
come to
to
PRP a little later. Let's talk about the simple adjuvants like growth hormone, like DHEA, like transdermal testosterone. Let's talk about the basic stuff first. We'll come to PRP, stem cell, a little after 5 minutes maybe. Dr. Neelam Desai had raised her hand. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sir, when we are talking about starting stimulation, first thing will be to counsel the patient the risk of aneuploidies we are going to see here. The
Very
patient
good.
has to be very
Excellent.
well aware about that fact. Then we have to tell her about the number of oocytes required to get one euploid embryo. Whether PGTA done or not is a second question. But number of embryos, pooling will be better. Then we have to start for accumulating the good cohort of antral follicles, because one follicle stimulation with gonadotropins, one oocyte is lesser. So we try to do pre-treatment in terms of maybe increasing the ovarian volume by just discussion point. You're going to touch upon that PRP, stem cells and everything, if at all we do that. Then
Okay.
if we are not looking at that, then we are looking at simpler adjuvants. In the simpler adjuvants, there is no harm in like adding those adjuvants as far as the patient is explained that it might or might not work. Finally, day 2 antral follicle count will make the impact.
So this
Amongst
is
the
one
adjuvants
point
and
where I come
growth
in and
hormone,
tell,
yes, I will just
where
add
I
a point
say
because I would
that
want
you have to manage patient expectations. You have
yes.
to give
So
them a
amongst all the
realistic idea.
adjuvants, I feel before like PRP, anything, growth hormone increases the insulin-like growth factor from the liver,
Yes.
and then it actually increases the receptors on the oocytes. And in the first stimulation cycle, if we use growth hormone along with the gonadotropins, some oocyte activation I've seen that. I don't do dual stimulation because the later reports of some studies say that the dual stimulation is actually might not be so effective. Bi-stimulation is what they're looking at now. So maybe in next month or next to next month, we look at the pool of antral follicles and then do stimulation. In the first go, if we have given a growth hormone, the second pickup yields a little more better euploid embryos from those oocytes. That's what we are experiencing. Thank you.
Two other people have raised their hand, Dr. Riju and Dr. Mamta. We've not heard from them earlier, so I'm giving them a chance to speak. Dr. Riju, are you there with us?
Yes, apologies. Actually, my network was unstable, so I had logged
Yeah,
out.
I saw you coming in and out, so we didn't really know if you were with
So
us.
I missed the previous conversation. What I heard just now was Dr. Neelam, and yes, I agree. First of all, counseling is very important, and pre-treatment, which includes, I think it has already been discussed. The pre-treatment with DHEAs and testosterone has already been discussed. And during stimulation protocol in my clinical practice, I use FSH as well as recombinant LH along with growth hormones. And prior to that,
Okay.
of course, ovarian PRP in such
Okay.
patients.
And what is roughly the cost of your stimulation?
So because this patient has already given, in the history, already one IVF cycle has been done for this
Correct.
patient. So I think
No, I'm not
counseling is more
disputing that it's
important.
going to cost more. What I'm trying to say is when you're going in with your eyes wide open, we need to
Yes.
be able to convey to the patient that the cost of stimulation is going to be roughly at least twice what we
Yes,
spent the last time
the
for
cost is
getting the
going to
same
be
number of
twice
oocytes.
yes, of
For
course, sir.
getting the same number of oocytes. Or maybe one more.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
not every patient will accept that.
Yes.
But you need to be able to warn them well in advance. Otherwise, they'll have unrealistic expectation. They'll think I'll get 8 follicles because I'm taking growth
No, so
hormone.
that comes counseling. So the first step is always counseling.
Exactly.
So what protocol has been used earlier, what treatment protocol was given,
Yeah.
pre-treatment was given, what stimulation was given, and accordingly what we are planning, that has to be very clear. And what will be the prognosis, what will be the expected number of oocytes retrieved, that has to be counseled from the beginning. And of course, the
Right.
cost factor.
Dr. Mamta had raised her hand. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hi.
This patient is already 38, underwent a one cycle of IVF earlier. Like she's having a AFC of 2. Like
Yeah.
I would like to give the pre-treatment with DHEA and the
Okay.
androgen testosterone gel in the prior, like start with the 2 to 3 weeks prior to the stimulation.
But is that
And
enough?
no, and we'll see. We'll do the baseline scan on day 2 if like we are seeing on like AFC of 2 or not. We need to counsel the patient because you are having only 2 follicles. The recruitment may be like either the two, like both the follicle may get recruited or one, or maybe like the counseling is very important because there is a high rate of the cancellation of the cycle. And the patient need to be counseled about the pooling as well. Sometimes we do one cycle and the immediate the
Yes.
next cycle may the patient may do better because of the
Correct.
prior stimulation sometime.
Very much.
And if we are able to reach till day 5 of the embryo, then the patient need to be counseled. She may require the pre-genetic testing just to see whether they are the is there
We're not going to talk about PGTA here. That's a big Pandora's box. So I want to avoid talking about PGTA today. We'll only talk about stuff which you and I have within our purview, which we have expertise with. Okay. Anyone else who wants to have a go? Dr. Tanu Batra had raised her hand in between. Shrutika has raised her. Yes, Shrutika.
Sir, the AFC that you mentioned is 1. For an AFC of 1 to 2. Now, this is a typical patient where all guns blazing, you want to use everything, pre-op
Correct.
adjuvants, pre-IVF adjuvants, IVF adjuvants, and post-IVF adjuvants. So, one modification that I would suggest is I would have done a mild stimulation IVF for this patient. Because with
Exactly. So that
such
is
a
why the
low
question there on the slide is natural cycle stimulation and minimal stimulation a good option? Because any which way she's going to give you only 1 or 2
2,
follicles.
exactly. So giving recombinant FSH high dose or giving recombinant LH and increasing the cost, because this is the typical patient who is going to benefit from embryo pooling. You are going to
Correct.
require multiple cycles. So you need to
Exactly.
reduce the cost.
Exactly. Akanksha and then Sheetal. Please unmute yourself.
So as Dr. Shrutika said, I am totally agreeing because such patients we see whatever we use and like whatever we give, they respond same, whether it's minimum stimulation or high dose we give or we use
So
any.
rather than make her spend 3 lakhs, in
Yeah,
1 lakh you
exactly.
can
I
do the
agree.
same cycle, get the
Correct.
same 2 follicles,
The
right?
only thing which benefit them is the embryo pooling, I feel. I think nothing else is benefited in these patients.
Dr. Sandhya and then Dr. Sheetal.
Sir, I prefer luteal phase stimulations for such kind of patients because day 2 they have
Okay.
asynchronous large follicles and all. So many a times I
Okay.
call them
And you
on day
do you find that the quality of the oocytes is equally good?
actually better. I've
Better.
seen many patients
And do
actually
you do
better.
back-to-back stimulations like the duostim protocol?
So usually I do luteal phase when it was a failed day 2 stimulation. So
Okay.
in one cycle I got 2 day 5 embryos I've transferred and the patient is positive.
Fantastic.
So
In a Poseidon class 4 to get
4.
2 blastocysts
Yeah,
in
that
1
was
cycle is like unheard of. I mean, salute to you and your embryologist.
look,
Please send
I
your
actually
embryologist to me as well.
admired my embryologist from that time. I got 3 oocytes and 2 blasts.
Fantastic. Amazing. Sheeta?
Yeah, so sir, we have discussed everything and so many other additives, but as per the Cochrane database and the meta-analysis, only growth hormone DHEA and antioxidants, that is CoQ300, really works. Again, there
Okay.
are other things which we can add. So yes, it really
So
is.
last 5 minutes of this panel, I want to speak talking about peripheral blood mononucleosides or PRP injection and ovarian rejuvenation or endometrial rejuvenation. Endometrial is out. Let's talk about ovarian rejuvenation. Anybody has experience? Please raise
Yes.
your hand. Dr. Sandhya has raised her hand. Dr. Sandhya, then Dr. Neelam Bise. Neelam, you want to go ahead?
Yes, for ovarian rejuvenation, amongst the option available, like if we want to try PRP or stem cells or things, first thing, the vaginal ovarian rejuvenation, when we do transvaginally, the ovary small, it doesn't really give good results. Whatever responses I've got is through the laparoscopic approach. And I've done some stem cells also. But the main response was about when it is extremely too low, and we are adding these high-end adjuvants like stem cell, as we have already discussed. Dr. Monica also spoke. There are a lot of cumbersome activities and processing has to be done. So average response patient would have like AMH maybe a little bit salvageable. There we can try these things with the proper counseling. But if it is too low, we should not give an unrealistic expectation to the patient with stem cells and PRPs. PRP, intraovarian, and stem cells, I had seen a slight increase in the AMH values, like for 44.
So would I be correct if I said that in those patients who categorically, for religious, social, whatever reasons, don't want to go in for donor oocytes?
Yes.
This is something which you can offer as a last resort. The chances are slim that they will work, but then this is all that we have to offer as of now.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we'll quickly go over the evidence as it stands. DHEA is well spoken of in most research papers, and Cochrane also says that pretreatment is associated with greater chances of live birth and ongoing pregnancy rates. Poseidon groups 4, we've already discussed. There are multiple different interventions that we can offer, and we ultimately need to offer all these to the patients, but then which of these will work, your mileage is going to vary. Natural cycle is unclear. Duostim may be recommended. Luteal priming, oocyte and embryo banking is something which is definitely there on the horizon. PRP, stem cells, mitochondrial replacement therapy, all of these are cutting edge therapies. Where there is no meta-analysis, you can't really do an comparison like a randomized clinical trial because you cannot have cases and controls in this particular case. We'll stop here. I'm going to stop sharing. If anybody is not spoken so far, they want to say something, I'll give you this opportunity to give us one clear take-home message before we close, and then we'll end. I think Sheetal has already raised her hand.
Yeah, about the ovarian PRP also, you have to tell the patient whenever you're deciding to do it that it is an experimental thing, and that way you have to take the consent also. That is one thing. And secondly, stem cells, I think we have to have an FDA license actually to do the stem cells. So any which way is a difficult thing. Anybody can't randomly do stem cells. So again, that is the big question mark. So I think
similarly, if you have to offer PGTA, you have to be licensed as a genetic clinic.
Yes.
Dr. Richa Anand?
Sir, what I have observed with ovarian PRP is ultimately the age matters. So 38 and less, they have given very good results with ovarian PRP, as in the quality of embryo has improved. Whether the number of oocytes have increased or not, that is questionable, but definitely the quality of embryo improves. Also, the size of ovary. If the ovarian size is small, PRP doesn't work that much, but if the ovarian size is normal, it does work. That is what my experience is.
Dr. Tanu Batra, you were quiet. You had raised your hand a couple of times. I asked for you, but ultimately you didn't.
Lower my hand, actually. Yeah. So I've also had an experience with ovarian PRP here. When we do ovarian PRP and measure the AMH and FSH again after 1 to 2 months time, then we have noticed that though there is a fall in AMH, but the FSH it decreases. So we've seen changes in the FSH. But secondly, there is a good effect, like there is an increase in the ova that is retrieved. But the aneuploidies we have seen, which is more with the ovarian PRP also. So it doesn't guarantee getting an euploid embryo.
Absolutely. And then, as I said, somebody got 3 oocytes and 2 blastocysts, and they got pregnancy as well. So there must be some magic somewhere at work. Maybe we should steal their protocol. Let's hear from Dr. Riju.
Yeah, so in poor ovarian reserve, I have been doing ovarian PRPs, and as I think Dr. Richa mentioned, so in few patients I did get good results, in few I did not, and the category of patients in which I did not get a added advantage of PRP was age more than 38. So the age factor really does matter.
But most of the time they come to you when they're 30, 39, 40.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
not something which is within your and my control. Let's hear from Dr. Mamta and Dr. Akanksha, and then we'll close this panel.
Sir, I agree. Ovarian PRP has very minimalistic role and they are only benefited when the patient is young. Otherwise, I don't feel they have any role otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I am also agree because the age always matter. You may increase the 1 or 2 number, the aneuploidy risk you cannot decrease. Ultimately, our goal to give the pregnancy.
Perfect. So many roads lead to Rome. Let us hope that at least one of them leads to pregnancy in these class 4 Poseidon. Thank you very much, Dr. Monica Singh, for this opportunity. You made me balance 16 panelists for the first time in my life. So Thank you very much.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank you so much, Pratik. And we were also surprised, like myself and Dr. I think who was doing the panel with me, who was inviting the panelists. Everyone we called said yes.
Because they're so comfortable with me. They know I'm not going to drag them.
No, I took your name. I said this is a panel for ISAR and Dr. Pratik Tambe is the moderator. Nobody said no.
No, they're so comfortable with Monica Madam, Manisha, Garima, and Pratik sir being moderators. So it was actually.
Yeah, but actually then we can involve more people, no, Pratik? And
True.
the problem is sometimes you invite about 7 or 8 panelists and 2 or 3 are busy in emergency. Then the moderator is left with 4 people and they are bombarded with questions. So I thought let's have a full house today.
Monica
But we had a
Madam,
nice
because of
conversation.
you,
ma'am,
we
I
got
checked
to
on
see a
Every
lot of
state
other
you have
consultants.
invited.
I checked the flyer twice.
All
I
India.
thought there's a mistake.
Ma'am, we get a wider perspective as well. Very actually balanced opinion and a real randomized controlled trial about everything.
And we got to see so many other consultants. I mean, we did not know people. So hi to everyone.
When Garima messaged me on Monday, like, please share the question, I said, I'm trying to fit all the panelists' names onto one slide. As soon as I managed to do that, I'll send it over.
But
Sorry to bug you for that, but everyone was requesting for the same.
Yes, and I'm happy with the third party also, which BSV has given us. I think I'm getting a very beautiful. The speakers are on the top, and all the little windows are at the bottom of my screen. I don't know whether everybody is having it, but my Mac is giving me a beautiful picture of all the panelists. So this is ISAR for us. And Pratik, thank you for joining and taking it forward and ending it so nicely. Thank you, Garima and Manisha, for being there as co-conveners. And thank you, coordinators. They are still there, Richa and Shweta. Purva could not join today. And of course, Team BSV, led by Rubia and Dr. Pratima.
Priyanka.
Dr. Priyanka, and of course, our studio partners. It was a lovely beginning to ISAR Perfection Fertisphere, and we hope to do a monthly webinar. And Pratik, we should take care that we don't have the same topics on the same dates at the same time. So I heard that.
Make
Yes.
sure that I never clash with you.
Yeah, no, we'll discuss beforehand. So I think that's it. So there is a little bit of information about this e-certificate which will come on your mail. Can you clarify that, BSV team?
Yes, ma'am. So at the panel section where you are viewing the current session, there's a download certificate option. You can just click over there, and with whatever name you have registered yourself, your certificates will be downloaded.
Okay.
It is just above the query box. If you have logged in from your laptops, this is how your screen will be visible. If you have logged in from your phones, then it is again going to be in a similar manner, just the alignment would be different.
So I'm not getting the download option, Rubia. Where is it?
This is for all our viewers, ma'am.
Acha, this is not for, you're not giving certificates to faculty?
We are giving to them also, but for the viewers, it is visible in such manner.
Okay.
Nima, can you just help all the viewers?
Yes, ma'am, whoever registers through the registration link and whoever watches, no, they'll have their screen of this type, and there is a download certificate option. You have to click on that and it will automatically get downloaded in your system or in your phone. Whatever name you are registering, for example, I am registering under Nima Raj, then it will come as Miss Nima Raj. If you're registering as Dr., for example, Dr. Monica Singh, then you'll get your certificate under name of Dr. Monica Singh.
Right. So that is for the viewers. And how does the faculty members get the certificate?
So even they can register themselves on the same link and they can download it on that same platform, ma'am.
So how long will that certificate be available after the webinar?
So I'll keep it live. So once the webinar is done, they can just go and register themselves and they can download it, ma'am, from there.
So can you keep it for one day more?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. We'll do that.
Yeah, till whole of tomorrow so that everybody can download the e-certificate. It is not carrying any ISAR points or anything, but it is
No,
just
Dr.
for
Monica,
yourself.
Dr. Monica, it should not be for 1 day. At least it should be 1 week or few days. No, because tomorrow if anybody is busy in OT and all.
Right, right. So, Nima, you can keep it for a couple of days, 1 week or so. Right?
Dr. Monica, there's a question from Dr. Ratul. Can we have the recorded video for this particular
Yeah.
session?
But there's another good news about the YouTube channel. Who would like to tell us about the YouTube channel, Nima or Rubia? All
So
our,
yes, the session is going live on the YouTube channel also, which is led by Dr. Monica ma'am. We'll also be sharing the link of that channel. So that session is going to be there forever. So whosoever wants to go back and have a look at the session, they can have it.
So if you want, you can just put the name of the channel in the group or in the chat box. So if you register to that YouTube channel, you will be able to access not only the ISAR Perfection Fertisphere series, but all the Synergy series, all the Perfection series we've done before, and all Symbiosis. So it's a collection of about 50 good webinars you will get in that. Some of them are uploaded, some are yet to upload, but it's a YouTube channel. So I think that's it. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
Thank you, Monica ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Monica, and congratulations, Dr. Monica and Randheen sir, and the co-conveners, Dr. Manisha and Garima, for this. This was the first beginning of the Perfection series, right now.
No, the Perfection series has been there in 23 and 24. We did 14
This year.
Then
Yes.
in 24, our sponsorship ended and we switched over to OBGY topics. Then this year, Amit Patki sir told me it's Lucknow ISAR. Then
Yes.
Monica, why don't you start Perfection again? So I was, just contemplating and getting it into, actual thing took around 2 months. And then it happened.
Thank you for having us here, ma'am, and congratulations to the organizing
Thank you
team.
so much. This was just teamwork. I alone could not have done it. It's a fantastic teamwork. And Manisha has been so helpful. Shweta has been there at every phone call. All of you were wonderful. And thanks for pitching in, Richa, Garima, everyone. And Riju, you are like family. So no need to thank me. And thank you, BSV. Have a very nice evening and the rest of the week. Bye till we meet again in June. We'll put ISAR date, perfection dates in such a way that they do not clash with the excellence dates. So there is a Catalyst series by Dr. Anu Agarwal. There is Excellence series by Dr. Pratik Tambe. And this is the third series. So we'll try not to have webinars too close to each other. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Manish.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Monica ma'am.
We have also put the YouTube link in the chat box for all our doctors for the future review. You can visit the YouTube channel led by Dr. Monica ma'am, and you can have a visit at the session which was done today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye. Good night. Bye.